Hey guys, I am back and I'm with a longtime friend and a serial entrepreneur, Eric Richards. If you have been around Woodstock at all, you have to know this guy. And this is going to be a great, in a good way. And this is going to be a great conversation. I tried to make notes on what we would talk about, and the notes are, they cover this post-it on both sides, not post-it, an index card on both sides.
It's a non-lined index card.
Yeah, and
it serves no purpose.
Various, it goes from the Chiefs to adventure racing to Starbucks to health.
Chiefs. Not Kansas City. I'm not
I don't
fan.
know.
I'm not a fan.
What's the, maybe I said it wrong. What's the hockey team?
Hockey or football?
I don't know. I saw you in hockey jerseys. What is it?
Well, there's a lot.
Wait.
Let's just see what happens when we get there.
It's not the Chefs?
That's funny. The Chefs.
Was that a Snickers commercial? I don't know.
It might have been.
Okay, so you guys, if you've been listening, you know our tagline here is building a strong foundation for life in farm, fitness, and finances, because I like the F's. And yeah, so you know my 3 F's for coaching?
Yeah.
Fun, fitness
and
for coaching.
Beautiful.
I had 4 F's for Evie. She did an adventure race with me.
Oh, very good.
Yeah, the first one was good. It was fun, right? So she's like, Dad, I want to have fun. I'm like, perfect. I said, what's the next one? She's like, well, let's finish. I'm like, oh, you've done this. Yes, let's keep going. Yes. And then it was for safety and for checkpoints. So only the first 2 worked out.
That's funny.
Yeah, we ended up skipping like 90. Well, we probably skipped 40% of the checkpoints. We only completed 60% of the race.
Yeah, I got it.
And she still came in first.
Oh, that's awesome.
Because you don't have to run the most, you have to run the smartest.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so.
Well, it's funny. Brooke texted me yesterday. She was heading up to a lake house with a couple friends. Yeah. Another one being named Evie. Believe it or not, there's another Evie in the world.
There is, yeah.
She just graduated. Yeah. So, and they were driving up through Blue Ridge. Yeah. So I think somehow the conversation must have come up. Like, oh, this is great up here. I love this, whatever. Oh, my father's done a bunch of adventure races up here, right? Something happened like that. Because the text was, hey, is there an easy adventure race out there in the world? Evie and I and Leah would like to do it. And so
the answer is yes, and I can help you.
Well, but I had more fun than that with her first.
Yes. Tell me what you did.
Before I just said, yes, absolutely, I can help you do that. What we said was, it was kind of fun. Where was it?
So he is looking at his text.
So, yeah, I'm looking at my text messages
here. You got glasses and they're blown up. I love it.
Yeah.
Don't we feel the age?
Is that blown up?
It is.
It's not blown up compared to an old guy I hang out with.
Right. Okay.
That guy's got his font.
One letter per.
Yeah, it's like he has to scroll to see like the word the.
I'm right there. I'm like, my kids are like, just open the screen size. I'm like, no, I refuse to.
So basically she said, are there any easy adventure races for younger people? Like, younger people, you're an adult.
Yeah,
they're adults. Right. So that's what, anyways, because me, Evie, and Leah want to do one. And then there was a couple other things because I was answering another thing before that. And then I got to you need to practice MTB the most.
Yeah. Oh, yes and no, but keep going.
But I was messing with her. Yeah. And then immediately the next text was, and running. Next text, and navigating.
Right.
Okay, yes. And sucking it up, buttercups.
Right.
How difficult is the biking? Incredibly. How easy are the easiest ones? Super deadly.
That's exactly you.
Then she's like, are you serious? Laughy face, no.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So I think, but she mountain bikes with me over here at Rope Mill.
Yeah.
And she really loves it.
Okay.
Whereas my other daughter, who you would
Yeah, she's super athletic and soccer-y and
attribute risk and biking and all that stuff to, she hates it. Because she feels like she's going to die.
Yes, well, there is that.
So Brooke doesn't have that feeling at all. She just wants to go mountain biking. I'm like,
do you think it has something to do with her time on horses?
Maybe. She definitely has more comfort, kind of, wildly moving along without any fear of what could happen next.
Right.
Right. So maybe so.
She trusts the horse. She trusts the bike.
So I think, and I think she trusts when she sees me leading them. Yeah. That okay, he went through it, I can go through it, right? Anza like looks down over the edge and thinks, oh my gosh, we're going to die.
Yeah, don't ever look over the edge.
Like, don't look at the edge.
So the secret of mountain biking is momentum.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you have momentum, you'll just go over the trail.
I always tell them, like, it's easier, faster, it's easier, faster, it's easier, faster, it's easier, faster.
If not,
it's like when you teach them how to drive. Listen, some of these things are a little bit easier, faster.
It's not too
fast,
that. Yeah,
but,
right.
I mean, but still.
Okay, this wasn't even on, so I knew this would happen. So I'm also the king of tangent.
Yeah.
So this podcast could be called Tangents with Andy.
Yeah.
So the tangent here is, how does a parent instill in their kids the idea of health and fitness? Because we would all love that.
Because that was a fitness talk that we were just on there, and she reached out to me, not me reaching out to her, right? So you know, it's one of those things too, and I've been saying this for years. I've been saying it to my clientele here at Health Sprout.
Wait, clientele? Who's what? Yeah.
Yeah. So Health Sprout. So Dr. Eric. So that was the first and foremost business in my post collegiate business life. It's not really my first and foremost business. I started cleaning cars for people. I was a car detailer when I was 17, and I got a gig where I inherited a business from a graduating senior of doctors, lawyers, etc. Mm-hmm. This is in Lockport, New York, outside of Buffalo. Buffalo Bills. That's the team that you were trying to think of earlier. Buffalo Sabres is the hockey team you're trying to think of. Not the Chiefs. No, but I inherited this book of business from this guy, which was awesome. So as a 17-year-old, I'm like picking up Porsche 911s and Acura NSXs, brand new back at the time. This is, back in, we're talking, what were we? 87 was when I inherited that business, actually. Or 80, no, it was later than that. It was 88, late 88 I inherited.
And you're still alive now?
And I'm still alive.
That's weird.
It was cool. But I did get pulled. I got tickets I got 2 tickets in other people's cars. Yes. Snap. Which was like, I didn't know what was going to happen. I wasn't too sure how that ticket like followed the trail.
Couldn't you just look it up on the internet?
Well, the good news was I was able to show up in both situations and get it dumbed down to that. Here's, $100 and
that's what they want
to do it again, right?
It's a racket.
They want to keep you on the road.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And they want your money, not your
cash.
time.
And they want it quick. Come through, pay him over there.
Yeah.
Come through, pay him over there. You don't have to swear that you did whatever, then you write the check and you're good.
Right. Do you promise that you were at least a little bit of an idiot? Yes. Okay, here's a little
totally.
Levi just had to experience that. Okay, so that was one of the tangents. We're going to come back
to Health Sprout. So
to the girl who said.
So the thing that I was saying is that I kind of instilled this idea in people from the very beginning, which was like, look, my family is incredibly healthy.
Yeah.
Don't say, oh, lucky you.
Right.
It's no luck. It's 100% earned. It's always earned. Everything's earned. And if you don't understand health, and you don't understand how to earn it, then you think it's luck. And you should just change yourself, right? Understand what it takes to earn it. And so I look at that with my kids, same thing. I help them earn health, and then I handed it to them. And then I help them earn good grades in school, and then we handed it to them, right? And Brooke just graduated salutatorian at fellowship. And, you have to be smart. Like you've got to have intelligence, right? But she's got work ethic too. Right. She's got work ethic.
Yeah.
And we took away the parent gloves, at some point and said, hey, it's okay. You should go out and have more fun. Stop doing, I kept saying this for the last 2 years. You should stop doing schoolwork. It's not worth it. Yeah. Just go out and have fun. Yeah. Just go out and have fun. In the end, and she's like, I'm having fun, and I'll just still keep getting good grades. And so she figured it out on her own, right? Yeah. So it's the same thing with fitness. So she's not as fit as she would like to be, Brooke. Yeah. And it's really because the bar that we set in the household was a high bar. Mm-hmm. Let's just push. Let's get fit. Let's stay fit. Let's be the fittest we can possibly be. And then, you get busy, and that falls off. And she's athletic, she's lean, she's all those things, but she's not as fit as she would like. Yeah. She's horse riding fit, which there is a fitness there for sure.
Well, she also is an entrepreneur.
She's an entrepreneur
and a salutatorian.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff, right?
Right.
So,
and that's the thing that I think people, again, tangenting. People talk about a work-life balance. Yeah, it's really being okay with the work-life imbalance. Yeah. So there is never a balance. It's never a seesaw. It's equal on each side. It's where do you put your priorities? Yeah. And are you okay with that? If you're not, you're going to be upset with the road that you laid for yourself. So she is happy with where she is. Yeah. And she's like, okay, I would like to get to there. And you make these roads and these choices. So I think sometimes people think there was a saying, and it actually might have come from one of your podcasts or one of your Facebook lives. Yeah. It's like, choose your hard. So being obese is hard. Yeah, being healthy is hard.
Absolutely.
Being a bad student is hard. Being a good student is hard, right?
Absolutely.
You literally just choose what do you want to be and put the time into it, because detention sucks just as much as studying.
Your consequences coming somewhere,
right?
No matter what it is. Absolutely. And I look at it too with the work-life balance, and I mean I really think for me work life is a whirlwind that it all integrates. There's really no difference there.
Right.
And it's kind of like my faith, right? My faith integrates it as well.
Are you still with the goat sacrificing division of Christianity?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I still use that joke.
Because goats, I'm scared of them, so I kill them.
Right. Hey, why wouldn't you? I mean, you see their eyes. You ever look at a goat's eyes? They look so freaky. You're
there's something wrong.
There's something wrong.
Something wrong.
Yeah, they're like, you're stealing my soul.
I've grabbed a little one of those by the horns and stared into their eyes, and I literally felt myself
getting sucked in.
Dementor.
Oh,
Dementor. Total Dementor. No, so no, and just by awesome. No goats were hurt in the filming or the audio recording of this.
No, not at all.
So
you put them together. You integrate everything in your life, and you are who you are.
Yeah.
Which is actually a later question I have on here. Do you ever see yourself retiring? But I think the answer would be, you mean retiring from being me?
Yeah. So
no, right?
So do I see myself? What I would say is that
sorry, I tangented you there. Keep it. Yeah. But I do see you. You live you.
Yeah. And
there's no
Well, yeah, and I think the way that I would look at it, and just by the way, we're sitting here inside of a Starbucks that is it's in a building that I'm the developer and owner of, and it's kind of noisy in the background, but it also means that we're both drinking caffeine, so this could escalate, guys.
It's going to. And this is part of it. We chose Starbucks on purpose because I do want. This is going to go all over the place. Eric he typifies many of the things that we all would like to see in our life. He's got of the F's, family, check mark, it's good. Fitness, check mark. I mean, maybe hockey did you wrong early on, but whatever.
I carry baggage around right now. Right. And it's amazing at 51 how much that baggage grows.
I mean, hey, it's the most important game of our life. Let's ram your shoulder into the wall. Yeah.
Exactly.
And then finances, and faith, all these things come together. And so this podcast is going to be kind of all over the place. I think what I hope to do is inspire some people into the idea that your choices matter and you need to choose your heart.
Yeah.
Okay,
good. So I think what I would see myself is not ever retiring. I would see myself retiring from as much directional change as I tend to like, right? Mm-hmm. Like I like directional change. If I feel boredom, I very quickly will go find something to change that. Mm-hmm. And I may still have that, but the risk associated with the choices will be reduced. Meaning, if it's financial risk or physical risk, I'm going to reduce that. Yeah. Now that said, Laura hooked me up. I'm doing that cool Porsche experience in like 2 weeks. Oh yeah, is Father's Day coming, right? And so I'm driving the Porsche Taycan because I've been hunting one of those for a while to buy. Okay. It's the electric car. And then I'm also driving the Porsche 911 Turbo around that track. Yeah. So I'm super excited for that. So I don't know if it's risk taking or not. I mean, I don't know. Well, it's track. I'm sure no one dies. So it's not real risk taking.
Is climbing a tower risky once you've put on the carabiners and embouts and right? So we want to take
only if you're going to fall into something else when you fall.
We want to take managed risks, right? I guess the risk would be at 100 and something pounds, 200 pounds out of whatever you are. If the guy behind you belaying you is a 90-pound teenager.
That's always the risk.
Your risk has gone up. Yeah. You're like, slow.
Hey, now we're both in the air.
You'll be coming down. Gravity wins.
Yeah.
No, I think that's awesome. So I read this book, or I listened to a book. I'm dyslexic. I don't read much. And if a book comes up in conversation more than twice, I go ahead and put it in Audible. And then eventually I get around to listening to it. Anyway, the psychology of money. Have you heard of that one?
No, I haven't. No.
Interesting one. And the idea was when we're younger, take massive risks because you have nothing to lose. As we get older, still take risks, but manage those because the time horizon has changed.
Yeah.
At 50, we don't want to be like, hey, I'm going to go all in on everything I have on this one idea. And what it is a Olympic fencing company in downtown.
Now if you back it up to like 35 or so,
go ahead, try it out.
I might know someone.
That was me.
That's pretty funny.
Not a good business.
Maybe not the best business partner either. I know that was part of your issue too.
It could have been. Actually, so here's the thing. Here's what I've come up with in the long time of thinking of that. In every situation that I go into, I am the common denominator.
Yeah.
So I am saying that it's always me.
Yeah.
And it could be something with somebody else, but there's probably me.
Yeah.
Because I am the common denominator.
Well, that's a smart way to look at it, though. And it's funny you say that, because I will say that's something that I have noticed about you and I that I think is very similar over the years. That we look at those
ruggedly
things.
good looking.
Well, there's that too.
Okay, thank you. Because most people don't say that.
We go into things we bad situations. We kind of come out the other end with the same idea that, hey, they have their story, I have my story. I'm sure their story is just as real as my story, right? So like at one point I had 7 chiropractic practices, right? And in under the cover of darkness, 2 chiropractors moved out of my practice. They were employed by me, had contracts with me, which they both broke, and I could have ruined them over this. Yeah. They moved across the street, right?
Wow.
They literally moved and opened up across the street, right? And Laura was very hurt. My wife, Laura, very hurt. And I don't blame her. She was hurt. It felt personal,
well,
right?
she has emotions where you and I lack those.
Exactly. Yeah. And I was like, listen, whatever got us to this point wasn't 100% them.
Right.
I mean, there's no way.
Right.
I guarantee they're not saying to their patients, yeah, hey, I mean, he was an amazing boss, an incredible situation, and we thought it'd just be cool to screw him.
Yeah, that's
it.
Yeah.
So come on over. We're across the street. We're screwing the man, right? No. They said, no, there's been a disagreement. We've just not been able to get what we want or something. I guarantee there's a story behind it. So who am I to say that their story's wrong and mine is right? I mean, to me, mine's more right, but I have to. So in the end, I was like, look, I just want our files back. Yeah. I want to figure out how to make this transition okay, so that I don't end up being totally screwed by the fact that I have no way to pay the rent other than my pocket now. And it was great. It worked out. God showed up. I ended up with 2 new chiropractors immediately. It grew faster than I ever could have expected. I probably was upside down in rent for like 2 months. Right. It's like just like that. So it was great.
That's the manage the risks of an entrepreneur at 50 versus you and I as an entrepreneur at 25. Well, one, I wasn't an entrepreneur. I was a sales guy, which I guess is kind of like being an entrepreneur, because you're like, here's a business, go run it on your own. Yeah. Good luck. Yeah. But so, for example, CrossFit Garage. Yeah. If I don't know, for some random reason, the world shut down, which would never really happen. But if they shut the world down and said, hey, you still have to pay rent, but nobody's coming in and people are canceling memberships. Yeah. At 50, I'm like, yeah, it's fine. I can figure that one out. Yeah, at 25, I would be a mess and a wreck. So
when I got out of the health sprout world, I had a combination of sales of offices and cannibalization of offices. Yeah. And the cannibalization always came with a workout on that landlord. Yeah. Because I'm like, hey, I'm closing down. I don't plan on paying you rent for the next 3 years. Right. So what can we do to work this out? Yeah. Right. And I found like coming to the table and asking that question and then working with it. Yeah. And I said, so in the end, I think they probably got all of their rent and had no loss of time from the transition to the next tenant, which is typically not how it works in commercial real estate. Usually if I would have taken it to 3 years, they would have been empty for 6 months or so, waiting for the next guy, probably putting in $50,000 of cash to help, tease the deal up for the next guy. Right. And they didn't have to do that. Right. So it was a good workout for them. Right. Well, and it cost me money, but not as much as it would have. So it worked out.
And in the other situation, as well as this one, is probably as well as anything, a statement that I've been saying to my kids for a while now is the biggest failure in communication is to think you've communicated, but have failed to. Yeah, absolutely. And we think, I said those words. And so you take the easy words of, I love you. If you say to your wife, I love you, she's going to be pissed. Yeah. If you say it, I love you, she's going to be even more pissed, right? So there's so much in what you say.
And if she reprimands you for something you've done around the house, and then you immediately say, oh, honey, I love you. It doesn't matter that you said it nice. Sure, your timing is all off, man.
So it could just not even be the words. It's the timing, the place.
That's the time to say, what can I do to fix this right now? Right. I'll do it right now.
I think it's interesting in the business world, you see things that other people don't get to see. So you run multiple businesses. We're going to get into some of those. Probably, sure. The one that I'm most familiar with is Health Sprout. The thing that has spurned on, I think, in probably from my outsider's perspective, more of your connection success.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is Health Sprout.
And CrossFit also helped that too. But I would say, so like a CrossFit Silos, where you and I partnered in that, and then I eventually took that over while you took over Garage and other stuff. That one, I also put a chiropractic table in that office or in that gym and had a little side office. And so I did build deeper connections. And I would say that that is such a big part of where I was able to take this next part of my business life.
Yeah.
So, and it's an interesting thing. So the real estate development, like now we're actively in 9 projects. There are 3 others that are on that are literally coming for sure. Not like on
here in Woodstock or in Milton?
Clarksville, which no one knows where that is, but
isn't that in Georgia somewhere?
It's in Georgia. It's north of Lake Lanier. Oh, yeah. If you're heading up to Lake Burton, it's like the closest historic little town to Lake Burton.
For all you Canadians that are moving to Georgia, that's Lake Lanier.
Yes, yeah, so Lanier. Yeah. If you're a Canadian from the east side of Canada, if you're from the west side of Canada, you don't even have a pronunciation for that.
No,
they don't have a clue. No, but so Clarksville is one. The other one is Sugar Hill.
Okay.
Downtown Sugar Hill, and then the one is Duluth. And those are happening for sure. And then I've been in Sheridan, Wyoming, looking at a project there, and I think that one's up on the board, and I think that might happen as well, which is kind of interesting to see, like getting out of the area. And then there's one that's outside of Austin, Texas, that is also on the board that might happen too.
Okay, so let's back up on that for a second and say you started. Well, I'm gonna throw in there that it wasn't necessarily house sprout. We say house sprout, but what I really mean is your care and compassion and dedication to people. Is what led it. And so when people say house sprout, they usually mean Eric and his team, brother and family, but it's the attention to detail and the caring and the deep connection that you will form with people and your continual character that I am the same guy no matter where we are and I don't change. And this is what you're going to get. And so when you're the same person for in this area,
years.
Right? And people are like,
now 22.
Hellsprout, I know him, I love them, I can trust him.
Yeah.
Then they can take that next step of, hey, what about these business deals? So as a small entrepreneurial guy of rental properties, I look at some of the things you're doing and I'm like, that's fascinating. I don't even know how to find that opportunity. So if you have a guy out there, so when I tell people, hey, if you want to talk health and fitness about like the gym or whatever, sure, I'm in, let's talk. Yeah. When they're like, sure, let's do that. I meet with somebody. The number one question they ask is, how do I get into rentals? So it's not even that, right? Like, how do I do rental property? So my question to you is, how do you find a deal that's in Duluth, in Wyoming, in Saskatchewan, in Sugar Hill, in Clarksville?
It's pretty funny. So the world of real estate development at this level is a much smaller world.
What's this level? What is that?
So all right. So like,
I'm not building a house.
Yeah. So we're sitting in a building. This is a 28,000 square foot building that has, it's got restaurant on the first floor and it's got residential above it. And then across that plaza right there, it's a 22,000 square foot building that is 100% commercial. And it's mixed use though, right? Like we got restaurant, we got office, we've got retail, we got all in that space. So when we're looking at development, and there's going to be 100,000 square feet of residential combined with commercial built in a dare park that doesn't count single family or townhome. That's just, what's built in mixed use building. So at that level, so it means basically when you're building into cities, right? You're adding to cities. You're not just putting up a house or a couple houses or, a duplex, whatever. So when you get to this level, it's a much smaller world. And if you can successfully deliver some buildings to the world, then that small world takes notice of you. And so
the ticket to play is have a successful project.
Deals arrive because people just know that you can do deals. So now it's like, hey, we got this thing going. Hey, Eric, we met at the whatever. We saw you at the whatever. We talked over the whatever. I got this thing going on. Would you have an interest in Alpharetta? I'm like, yeah, I got 3 deals in Alpharetta right now. Let's do it. Right. And so that's kind of how that happens. And then, you come to the table, you sit down, you look, you do a bunch of due diligence and figure out, is there money to be made? What's the situation? What's my play in this? Do I have to bring a bunch of money to the table to this? Am I the leader in this deal or am I a follower in this deal?
Which one do you like the most and which one do you like the least?
I like being a leader.
Okay.
And I like being early in a deal too. Because so real estate is an interesting thing where when you're considering developing real estate, you've got these different levels of escalation in value for the underlying dirt. So for me, what really helped was that I had, so you remember in 2007, I had a real estate development deal because I was talking to you about getting involved with it. And it was good you didn't, because you would have lost all your money like I did. Because anyone knows.
Is that the buildings?
Oh, the 3 buildings over there on Woodstock Parkway. So for anyone's in the area, Woodstock Parkway, there's 3-story office buildings that are south of the outlets, kind of phase 575. I was in a group with 3 other guys. We bought the dirt. We developed the dirt. So you want to go?
Well, it is getting louder. Yeah. I don't know if I can get all that loud out.
Yeah, got it.
Yeah, I'm going to hit pause. We'll go outside.
Okay,
so
Sweet.
I messed up and I hit play instead of resume, but technology is so good. It is back. It's recording.
I mean, it looks, is that 25 minutes?
In 2008, trying to do a podcast was insane.
Well, even the ones I was doing, the reason why I stopped was because I lost one of the interns.
And you're like, I can't make it work.
We had a mixing board going.
No, you don't need that. Look what I'm doing. I have 2 mics and we just talk.
Yeah.
Dude, this is super easy. Actually, as a matter of fact, for any of your videos that you've got that you want to make into a podcast, you can take your video, put it into VLC, which is some sort of editor.
Yep.
And then it'll rip out the audio. And then you just upload it into your RSS feed. You don't have to do anything.
That's awesome.
It's like, so I'll do like videos and like record whatever. And then I'll just make a YouTube-y thing out of it and then a podcasty thing out of it. The funny thing though is to edit this stuff, this audio, it's actually harder to edit than it is to edit video because they make more video tools. Makes sense. So I'm still on Audacity from like 1992.
Oh, wow.
And I'm like, I don't know how to, I think maybe it's easier because there's some visual cueing, like, oh, this is a spot where you and I did this. But in order for me to find it in audio, like my cue for like when we mess up, we clap and then I can go find the spike and I can delete it.
Oh, gotcha.
So hopefully nobody hears. Because if they do, then they're going to hear something really stupid. Yeah. So we moved outside because I don't know if I can control the noise. And Eric grabbed furniture.
Yeah, grabbed furniture. So we're in the plaza outside of Starbucks, which so this is, this is another part of this whole development thing. So kind of what makes someone also successful is the ability to find money that you can spend that does not have a tangible return to it. This has no tangible return.
Right.
I burned $200,000 into this plaza.
Right.
And it looks like a stupid idea to someone who just looks at the numbers.
Right.
But I'm a very artistic, like I like creativity. Like that's like a big part of me. And it's like, man, I'm going to make the most fantastic outdoor spaces here so that everyone is going to want to be here. Every tenant is going to want to be here.
Right.
And they're all going to be willing to pay me more, and not just more, part of their endless, infinite upside.
Yeah.
So I'm a big fan of percentage rent deals where I've got upside, and I've got it in every restaurant that's coming to this space.
Yeah.
I've got a percentage rent deal so that if they kill it, I kill it too.
Right.
And that's why
I like that. Take risk with people because that's Arnold Schwarzenegger's way or something. Did he do that?
Yeah, I think so. And so yesterday I had a meeting actually with who's going to be a tenant in that last building down there that's coming up right now. And I basically said, look, I want to just make sure you understand why I want a percentage rent deal with you. Like, I don't want to just be in your pocket. We could have a cutoff where at some point it stops.
Sure.
But do you think that I'm going to shortcut your plaza in front of your space? Look, and I just looked at this and do you think I'm going to shortcut that?
Right.
I'm not going to shortcut that.
Yeah.
I don't just want to put $200,000 at risk for a plaza and then get it back with interest.
Right.
No, it's a bigger risk than that.
Right.
I want to get it back with endless return. Right. Not huge.
And now you're investing
endless.
In their success by saying, look,
Absolutely.
I'm going to upfront spend $200,000.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So that's actually a good, so let's kind of like, again.
And that also gets people. So back to the thing that we were talking about, which is how do I get into deals? The developers who drive by here now, and it's not even developers, honestly. You want to know who brought me into the last 2 deals?
Yeah.
The city staff of Sugar Hill and of Duluth.
Okay.
Because they saw it.
Okay.
And they want it.
Nice.
That's it.
So that's, again, reputation. So be who you are, be like yourself. Now, again, if you are a sleazy person, you're never going to make it very far. If people, especially now with social media, they can track you down and say, oh, no, you got to be consistent and you got to be you.
So on that, like, I operate with integrity.
Yeah.
However, you think about it. When you're in enough stuff, there are plenty of people who think I don't.
Right.
Right? There's plenty of people
well,
who are like, that guy's a jerk.
Yeah,
Don't work with him.
Right.
I guarantee those people, like, I mean, I'm trying to earn back relationship with them right now.
Yeah.
Because, again, it's emotional, right?
Right.
If you sell a house to someone,
right,
it's emotional. If you build it and sell it, it's even more emotional. Yeah. And, there's always going to be these things where, look, they want typically at that point, the buyer wants an endless faucet of fixing things.
Right.
And at some point, you just have to cut it off.
Right.
Because profit has to be profit.
That's right.
And that's an emotional point. And then they get back over it and then they love you again later.
Right.
But it takes time.
Yeah.
And likewise. So like the Starbucks tenant, this is a locally owned Starbucks. This guy lives in Milton. He's got a kid at Fellowship Christian School.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, and Starbucks doesn't have many of these.
No.
But they do them. Notice there's no drive-through.
Right.
Starbucks doesn't do a corporate-owned no drive-through unless it's in the middle of like the most incredible foot traffic there is.
Yeah.
Because they don't want to take that risk.
Right.
But they'll license it to someone else and say, hey, you can take that risk.
Sure.
So very few of them, but Starbucks did it as a way to help combat that idea that they sold out to the drive-through traffic.
Okay, gotcha. Right.
You're like, well, fine, we'll find a way to we'll kill that.
Right.
We'll go get some people to take risk for us to make it look like we're doing amazing things for the community.
Well, and I think the thing that
community.
they gain out of that, and is the thing that I think budding entrepreneurs should understand is, just like what you're saying, hey, I will put some of my guaranteed rent at risk because you, the individual, is taking another risk.
Yeah.
So I'm layering risk on top of you. And if you have a singular person, the owner cares a lot more than the person you put in as a manager, right?
Absolutely.
So somebody called me up on the phone the other day and they're saying, hey, the garage? I'm like, yeah, sure. How can I help you? They said, how about an oil change? I said,
wrong garage.
no, I didn't.
Oh.
I said, yes, we'll do an oil change. It's about $1,000. He's like, why is it so expensive? I said, well, we're a CrossFit gym, but if you really need help with an oil change, I'm your guy. And he's like, $1,000? I'm going to go ahead and call some other places. Right? But the owner will do what needs to be done.
You had an opportunity.
A $1,000 oil change? Yeah, I can get that done in $100.
Absolutely.
Tell my kid to go drive a car somewhere, pay him cash and get.
We'll show up and pick it up.
That's it.
Matter of fact, while you wait, you can get a workout in.
Well, even we'll get you a back massage. We'll get you for $1,000, we can do a lot of stuff. But I guess the difference is owners see it different and the risk that they put in there is different. And so you can then leverage, like, I will take more of a chance because you're taking more of a chance. So something that I've always admired about your ability is my lifestyle is very risk adverse. So we do rental property, but if people ask, so how many rental houses do you have? I'm like, well, think of the normal person who uses a lot of leverage, then divide by 10. Because
you don't lever.
We're very risk adverse. Happy wife, happy life. So you got to, your business partner is your spouse.
Absolutely.
Make sure you talk to him and then manage the risk, right?
Yeah.
So your ability to be comfortable under risk is fascinating.
Yeah, and I've had a lot of people call that out over the years. And you know what? I think really what I've always said that there was a point in my life where risk became something that wasn't like it was no longer risk to me.
Right. It's reward if you really think about it.
Yeah.
It's just hard to get the knots out.
It's just part of life, and it was a great part for me. So in life, that was when I had like 6 chiropractic practices at the time, and we had a number of things that were kind of changing. We were heavily insurance collecting at that time. We weren't just a cash practice like we are today.
Right.
And there was a massive change. And what would happen is you kind of get a massive change at the turnover of a year, and it happens a lot where suddenly insurance is changing for 2012.
Sure.
And it was like massive change where, so I had a girl, Amber, who she ran, so this is in the Woodstock office. We ran the insurance out of that office. In the back room, we had a room set up. There were 3 desks, 3 women worked back there, and they ran the insurance. I had a server. All the other offices basically connected to that. And they would constantly be on the phone with the front desk people at all the other offices, making sure they got all the details they need, and they're just running the numbers. And it was probably like mid-February, and Amber, who was like the chief of those 3 ladies in the back, came up to me up in the front office where I was adjusting and was like, hey, I really want to talk to you when you get a chance about what I'm seeing on the numbers with the insurance. I'm like, okay. So she laid it on me. She's like, I think we're going to collect somewhere around 40% of what we collected last year on insurance this year. And I'm like, holy crap. And it's going to take us probably an extra 2 months before we really see that faucet even turn on. Because you cross over the year and everyone's at new deductibles, and we have care plans. So they're paying just like a monthly amount to cover deductible. They're not just saying, hey, your deductible's $2,000. Here's $2,000 up front. We included that in the annual. So I'm getting like $150 a month from people to cover those deductibles. Not like,
dang.
So I'm like, we're going to have a hard time covering our payroll.
Right.
Damn it. So that happened. And I was going through an audit, all at the same time. And you remember when I was going through that audit. And it was like,
when you say audit, it's not a friendly audit.
IRS is coming to take your life.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm going to stop right there and tell everybody out there, do not spend time in Club Fed. You want to know the tax man and you want to pay the tax man. Now, I would say I think the tax book is like a foot thick.
Yeah.
The first 10 pages are what everyone, normal person must do. The other billion pages are what you and I do to get out of paying the first 10 pages legally.
Yeah.
And so when they come calling, you need to talk to these people. So don't underestimate those guys. They are
one
harsh.
Primary CPA who I work with.
Yeah.
I have two others that are kind of in different entities because of the size of the entity and what the entity needs to do to report. We got partners. I'll talk about that at some point here about the billionaire partner that I have. I think that's a valuable thing to tell people because I didn't have that up front. I got that. So that I took a lot of risk. And now that I have that risk feels like it's even more mitigated than it was. So, I constantly am asking my CPA, you can defend that. That's a decision you can defend? Because I'm assuming we're going to have to, right? Like that's how I look at taxes now. Every decision that we make, we have to defend.
Yeah.
And we're going to defend it in front of a judge. Mm-hmm. And I hope we never do.
Right.
But the good thing is I talk to my attorney almost every single day.
Wow.
He's a real estate attorney who from 2008 to 2012 was a bankruptcy attorney.
Oh.
Because all of his real estate clients went bankrupt. So literally,
that's right. I became what they needed.
And so he's fabulous. And I literally I saw him yesterday and we were talking through some stuff. And then he was like, okay, 6 o'clock, let's catch up at 6 o'clock. I'll be at a gate, getting on a plane.
Right.
And I was like, all right. And at 6 o'clock, I texted him. I was like, hey, just produce that last document. I'm good. I don't need to talk. And today we're going to talk again. I guess that's what I do. So
have you found that you've upgraded your team throughout the years? You've had to change out. So that's something that I don't think people get is your sister may be okay at doing your books. I will tell you this. The first thing you should do is stop yourself from doing your books because you will fix your books accidentally and make it say what you want and be okay with that.
Yeah.
Have a third party that doesn't care. If it's your sister, sure, fine. But eventually it can't be your sister.
I'll still ask that person, can we make them look closer to this?
Yeah.
And then he'll say, maybe here, but not over here. Right. So it's probably not going to be where you want it. Like, okay. And can you defend that? Yeah, I can.
Right.
Right. I always finish with that. So
you know what the IRS, who the IRS doesn't want to go after? People who can afford lawyers.
Yeah. And that's exactly it. They'll do a workout. I knew you'd bring it eventually.
Thank you.
You're the best.
Is there any way I can get more regular black coffee in there? Thank you so very much.
So see that?
I probably owe for that.
The Starbucks, no, you don't.
Okay.
The Starbucks here at Dare Park will deliver to you your refill. Isn't that amazing?
Awesome. Yeah.
Or your first order.
Well, and
a lot of times I'm sitting here and just bring it out.
So I walk into here thinking, hey, Eric's doing me a solid doing a podcast. I think hopefully there's some good stuff that'll come out for him as well. But I'm going to get to this place early. So a lesson in life, early is on time. On time is late. Late is unacceptable. Anyway, I walk into here early and I said, hey, I am meeting Eric Richards, the landlord here. You may know him. And she just looks at me and gives me the smile. And I said, do you know his drink order? And she said, yes, I know his drink order. I'm like, that is service. Let me up tip you. And so awesome. I actually asked her, I was like, hey, I'm clicking here on these things, the credit card thing. He's like, do you want to change your tip or go up? I'm like, yes, I do. And then I clicked it. I was like, wait a minute. Do you guys even see that? And she goes, yes.
Yeah.
It goes directly to my paycheck. I'm like, that is awesome. Yeah. So thank you for being awesome service.
Yep. Thank you.
So, okay. Yeah, so here's lots of stuff for people to learn.
And so it's funny. I asked her yesterday, I'm like, is it Tilia or Talia?
Yeah.
And she said, it's Tilia. So, okay, got it. Just want to make sure so I know how to pronounce it. And I've seen her for 4 weeks now. I see her a lot.
Yeah.
So, but I got it.
Well, your house sprout is right there.
Yeah, so my house sprout's right there.
I'm pointing to across the street, literally.
I've inherited this co-working space, so I own that now.
Yeah. Oh, co-working space. So it's on the list. So tell me what a co-working space is.
So co-working space. So real quick though, let's put that as we're going to come back to that.
Oh, yes, we will.
I want to tell you about the.
Sorry.
Let
me
put it down
figure
here.
out how to.
No, it didn't go anywhere. We're good. So back when that audit happened, and all that was happening at the same time, and I was writing checks, my personal checks, back into the company to cover rent because no cash flow.
Right.
And then I got that freaking IRS just like sitting at my table, at my dining room table.
Oh, dang.
You know, coming in saying, hey, I'm going to need that. I'm going to need that server. Like, what?
Oh, my gosh.
I mean, like, literally, that's how they do it. They come in and take all that stuff and they
Right.
check everything.
I haven't seen you in ages.
How are you?
Oh, hey, can we pause it?
How are you?
Hey, we have a pause for
No, we don't pause podcast. We're doing a podcast.
Oh, we don't pause.
No, we're hugging.
Because
Yeah, this is friendly time.
so we just brought Christy Peacock here, who what do you guys call yourselves now? You don't call yourselves Goodwin Investment Advisor. You do? Okay. It is. I thought there was an.
Give me a plug for it.
What's the URL on your email addresses now, though? There's a different URL, isn't there?
No.
Okay. So
We'll have to erase all of it. No, I don't know how to.
So there's a couple guys. So I'd say if you're looking for financial advisors, I like Goodwin a lot. Tim Goodwin, so Goodwin Investment
Where is he
Advisory.
located?
And I also like Aaron Vincent,
right here?
Vincent Financial.
Right
so
down
those
there.
are two people who I really, really, really like. So
Yeah.
there you go.
Yeah.
So River Park, yeah. So he's up at Goodwin's up at River Park. Bought a building. Beautiful, man, did a great job in the interior. And then you got South on Main is where Aaron Vincent is. And same thing, bought a building, interior super gorgeous. So these guys, I mean, they're spending your money and they're
Wisely.
No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, they're building their own buildings. No,
they're doing a good job growing clientele, giving you lots of money and making money on their stuff.
I feel like I texted Gary the other day and I don't remember why.
I don't know.
No, maybe? Or did maybe you
I've
and
been
I were
spending a lot of
texting?
time with
We
Gary
were
the last
texting.
couple days.
Oh, we did. Yes. Oh, yeah. We had a issue at school. Yeah.
So
Yeah, I
remember
probably
that.
shouldn't put
when
that
we
on
talk
the
about
podcast.
Collaborate Woodstock, we'll talk about Gary as well. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, good to see you too.
Did you get adjusted, I assume?
Yes.
Good.
Hey,
Excellent.
if y'all would like to be on the local CrossFit Garage podcast talking about investments and stuff or whatever, just let me know. I'm happy to. Ooh, what is your podcast? And we'll put it on here so people can find you.
It is the Money Pig.
The Money
Peace,
Pig.
Independence and generosity.
The Money Pig. I'm
I
going to
should
write that
I should
down.
probably be on that one too, I'm guessing. Yeah.
You know, Reed Trigo?
Oh, yeah.
He hosts it.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, he's got a voice for, like, he just has a great voice.
yes.
Yeah.
He should have been a voiceover guy.
Yeah.
So I loved his podcast. He doesn't do it anymore. It's
What he did with Lee Merriweather, the
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
entrepreneurship. I think it was about they were looking at franchises.
It's franchises, but I can't remember the name of it now. But I loved it. And then he stopped doing it. And I was like, dude,
Yeah.
your voice is just very soothing. So it's
Yeah.
called The
Money Pig.
The Money
Money
Pig.
Pig. I like it.
And the pig.
I'm going to put that in the show
it was
notes and I'm going to start listening to it.
Yes, it's awesome. Check
Yeah.
it out. Good to
Love
see
it.
you
Yeah,
guys.
good to see
All
you
right,
guys too.
Take it easy. So that was it though. That time in my life when that happened with the IRS, that was the time that I came out of that and I said, you know what? There's nothing to be afraid of. There's nothing to risk because everything that I've worked for could go away in a moment, and this could be that moment. So why don't we just not let that be something that matters?
Right.
Let's not care about that.
Right.
Who cares if it does? I'll have everything I need no matter what happens at the end of this day.
Well, adversity builds stronger you.
Absolutely.
So I think there's a saying that everyone's thrown out here now. It's good men build good times build weak men build bad times,
yeah.
bad times build good men.
Yeah.
So adversity builds the crucible. So if you can
That's
go through it,
Great circle right there. Right?
Yeah.
Just get you
it's a
back
kind
on.
of a sad circle that,
Yeah.
like, because we want our children to be better than where we were.
Yeah.
But if we give them
too much.
yes. So they say,
It's
what
like
is
that
it?
Millionaire Next Door book.
Yeah, I love
that was
that book.
such a great story. Like, yeah, don't give too much wealth to your kids.
Right. Make them earn it.
Yeah.
So the third generation brings it. And I've been listening to a lot of generational wealth books.
Yeah.
I would like to be able to pass on to my kids and kids something.
Yep.
But it sounds like if you, the slope is slippery.
Yeah.
If there's a line. And I don't know where it is, but I'm trying to find it.
Yeah.
What drives them and what like demotivates them to spend it all. Like in Verity's family, there has been some people who had accidents and then got some money and then did the lottery thing and just went like, right. So most people who win the lottery are like worse off than they were before, like 3 years later or something.
Absolutely.
You're like, how does that? So
Yeah.
that
You
whole,
don't have any discipline, right? I mean, that's the thing. It's all about that discipline.
I think it is.
And that's something. So I'll touch on this now. So, you know, I got into this. I bought this house, converted it to my office. I had a plan to build something behind it. realized that it was going to be really expensive because I didn't have sewer.
Oh.
Here I am in Main Street in Woodstock,
Right.
and there's no sewer.
But it is Woodstock.
I mean, it's ridiculous. So then I bought the next door house, which is we're sitting kind of where that was, the Harder home.
Yeah.
And now I had enough mass to make the cost of bringing sewer to the site shrink relative, right? Because that was kind of it.
So you're saying the city didn't help you with the sewer. The business guy has to do the sewer.
No.
And I bet you that was a line item in the cost that you already had.
Yeah, exactly. And, you know, in the end, it's funny because I ended up assembling more property. In the end, the sewer line that serves those homes is not the one that I paid $97,000 to bring across the street. It's the one that I was able to actually get from the property down below and bring it back up inside, because it's a lot cheaper to bring it in the property than across the right of way.
Sure.
So that was like, I spent like $17,000, and we knew it would work better because the gradient that way is way more significant. And obviously that stuff flows downhill. so that helps, right?
It's trickle down economics, except with toilet water.
So yeah, but so I ended up, I bought that one. I had this one here, and those two, I did that primarily on my own. Like that was just me. And then as I started looking at, you know, what the plan was, I was going to flip the land in the back for residential purpose to a builder. I went through that for a couple of years of trying to do some like, I got it kind of designed. That wasn't a couple years, probably a year of sitting with small developer builders who I thought would be good partners. And I ended up under contract with one, Brightwater Homes, but I got my first taste of what it means to be in this business with those guys. Because everyone says it's a ruthless business. Oh, yeah. Oh, my gosh. You talk about a deal getting retraded. That deal kept getting retraded and retraded.
What does that mean, retraded? They passed it off to the next guy?
No, so a retrade on a deal is basically when you sit with someone, you get the deal done, you sign an LOI, which is the framework for what's going to be the contract. And then now as you're getting into moving it from LOI to contract, they say, you know what? We found out that there's going to be one less house because of the city than we thought. So we can't pay $990. We can pay $890, or, you know, who knows, right?
Right.
And so they were retrading and retrading and retrading and retrading. And my wife and I, we went into this business together. She'll tell you, there's a lot of businesses where I just kind of said, hey, honey, I want to do this. What do you think? Come along with me and just be along for the ride. And I did it, right? This one, I said, hey, look, this is going to be more significant. We're going to invest everything. Yeah. We're going to have ourselves at risk at times. That, you know, so I just need you along with me. I don't need you hidden from that. Right. And so we decided, we sat at the dining room table in that office before it was House Sprout. It was a dining room table that someone else, you know, had. We sat at their dining room table. It was under contract, but we didn't own it yet. We sat at that dining room table and we made that decision to be developers together.
Wow.
And when we did that, so then when we were looking at that contract with Brightwater Homes, and it was like midnight that night, the contract was going to expire, and I was like, you know what? I just don't feel comfortable with these guys. I feel like they're trying to screw us. Right. I don't want to extend this contract. Yeah. How do you feel? And she said, I feel at peace. That's great.
There you go.
So, you know, at like 12:05 a.m., I got a call from the realtor. Hey guys,
oops,
no one signed that contract in your inbox, and now it's after midnight, so it's no. We need to like do a whole new contract now. I'm like, no, we're not doing a contract.
Yeah,
we're not doing one.
I like that.
And she was like, wait, what? You're not doing a contract? You know, and then of course realtors are like, well, is my commission just go away? I'm like, no, you can still be in this. Whatever we end up doing, you'll still be in it with us. Yeah. And then we kind of redesigned what the plan was here, and literally, I said, you know, honey, I think we should be the developer ourselves.
Oh, wow.
We're not going to get a builder developer partner. We're going to do it ourselves. Yeah. And she was like, well, how are we going to know how to do that? Like, because I had like 47 meetings with builders in the last year, and they've lasted anywhere from an hour to 5 hours. I've picked the brains of everyone. I can do that. That's how.
So fascinating you say that. So I listened to it. Well, being dyslexic, a superpower is I can listen to podcasts on ×2 speed.
Oh, yeah.
And it totally makes sense to me.
Yeah, it's awesome.
And so I listen to a lot of content, and I've just started adding exactly. Everyone gets in the car and they're like, Dad, seriously, turn that down. Except for Evie, who has some dyslexia as well. She's like, I totally get this. I should tell you that Evie story in a little bit. But anyway, so I consume a lot of content. And one of the things I had just found, a buddy of mine, Glenn, who's on this entrepreneurial real estate venture as well, he said, hey, start listening to Bigger Pockets podcast. I'm like, all right. So I queued a few of them up.
Yeah.
And this guy was saying he would just show up to foreclosure meetings and just listen.
Yeah.
And then he would like go around with a team. Yeah. And they're like, who is this guy? Nobody knows. He would just show up with somebody else's team as they walk the property to decide what needs to be done. Yeah. And he would just listen. And nobody asked, who are you?
Who are you?
No, they're like, well, aren't you with him? Aren't you with everyone thought that he was with
Oh, yeah. Hey, I'm Steve.
Yeah. They're like, and he has a yellow vest on, a hard hat, and a clipboard. And he learned so much just by listening.
Well, it's funny you say that. So something that happened during this COVID time on a lot of job sites, because there's tons of people in and out here and we don't know everyone, right? And even the GC doesn't know everyone. Right. So workers.
I came in here and did some work.
Workers
that nobody even knew. They're like, who are you? I'm like, I'm in overalls.
I'm Andy. I got the hammer. We had guys poached off of this site because people came and literally were like, hey, how much are you getting paid? I got a job right now. So we like the lead on the electrician. So the guy who's the head guy for the electricians on this building here, someone came up and they offered him like 65 grand. He was maybe making 55 grand,
sure.
10 grand more. He walked off and he's like, okay, I got to give him like a week. So gave us a week and he was gone. Dang. Which was actually good because he was really bad.
so sometimes it's good to be poached,
but and then also this site here, back when it was getting developed, we tore down an iron fence that had these huge iron gates on it. And we kept the iron gates because I was going to use them as like an architectural element, like put them on the side of a building or something. We had them in the back corner. Some dude came and drove like one of those grasshoppers. Came down the road, drove on site, lifted it up, and drove off and drove away. And it was like a week later, I was like, guys, hey, where are my iron gates? And like, oh, your guy took them. My guy took them? Yeah, you didn't have a guy show up in a grasshopper? He, like a week ago, came, drove in the back, picked him up, drove off?
Right.
Like, literally? Yeah. Dude just came and stole.
So these are these things in the entrepreneurial world that you have to be okay with.
Yes.
Because it happens. Like we had a guy, a lot smaller, but there was a guy who used to come in the back of the garage and pick up scrap metal and then take it off. He picked up 3 of our, the pushy thing, me and words.
Dolly type thing.
The push.
But the push one, yeah.
Oh my gosh, whatever, sleds.
Sled, there it is, yeah.
Oh my gosh, you and I. How old are we? So he took our sleds as scrap metal. And so I saw him driving by later on. I was like, hey, you took our sleds. They were shiny, brand new, no rust. Yeah. Not brand new, but whatever. Yeah. And he's like, oh. And then we never saw him again because I was going to be like, you got to pay me something. But anyway. So people do things and you're like, why did you? Anyway.
That's horrible.
So what advice would you give let's say I'm a budding new, I'm out of college. Yeah. I'm starting to get capital. What do I do first? What would be a first step for an entrepreneur to say, I want to get in the world of either I want to be into the building, I want a landlord, I want to be in the property, or I want to start a business in a place that I can maybe have a smaller rent, right? Yeah. And partner with a guy that says, I will help you. And we'll just, do revenue or whatever. So what's an advice for somebody that's a younger person that's trying to get into this hustle? Yeah.
So, I mean, I think, on the real estate hustle, I think it probably makes the most sense to be in something that is residential first.
Okay.
Like that just it makes sense, right? Start there. Because ultimately, you really want to see your cash grow. And as you know, one of the best ways to do that is to see that real estate appreciation. Right. I mean, because if you sold all your rental properties right now, you get hammered with capital gains taxes, right? Because they've appreciated so much, right? And not to mention, like, because it's a business, anyways, you're not protected the way you are with a personal home, anyway. So there's tons, right?
Right.
And it's an interesting thing to think about this. I never moved.
Okay.
We lived in the same house for 17 years. I went straight from, I lived in a condo townhome that I bought to go to Life University down in Marietta. I paid $53,000 for it. Laura and I, we got married, moved to Charlotte. I said, hey, I'm going to be a chiropractor. Went and looked, here in Marietta. We're like, this is great. We're going to go to Atlanta. And I came back and looked. She wasn't with me. She was working back in Charlotte. And I took pictures, which of course weren't on a phone back then.
Yeah.
I had to develop these pictures. I actually went to like a 1 hour on my way home and just sat around. I was like maybe in Greenville, South Carolina.
Right.
Drove back to Charlotte, said, here it is. What do you think? She's like, I don't know. It looks ugly. I said, yeah, we should buy it. And so we did. And so we bought this place for $53,000.
Yeah.
Which is funny because I finally just sold it last year, about a year ago. Right now is when I finally just sold it. I've been renting it out forever. And we were like, why do we still own this little thing? We have a lot going on that's much bigger than this. And here this is outside of our like immediate footprint.
Right.
Like, yeah, we should sell it. It's funny. Sold it for like $200,000, right? So there it is. So you think about it. Now that took 20 something years. But to go from 53, which was a levered 53, to 200, and that's the thing. So the 17 years, we moved from that. We built a house in Laurelbrook, and we lived there for 17 years. And it was a nice house. But I know guys who were around me, people, my buddies, who moved like 15 times in that time. And they made so much money because of that willingness to move. Mm-hmm. I was unwilling to make my primary home
are you saying
my vehicle.
Sure.
But for those guys, what I'm saying is they took their primary residence, and this one guy specifically, he looked at expensive neighborhoods, Milton, Roswell, Alpharetta neighborhoods, and he moved around, and he would always look at a neighborhood that he could get into early, and he would buy one of the first homes. Mm-hmm. And he'd go in, he'd buy a first home, and as soon as it got to the point where it was like 2/3 sold, he would sell. Mm-hmm. And he'd get out of there, and he'd make $30,000, $50,000, $100,000.
Okay.
One year he made like $180,000 on home appreciation. I think it was $1 million home.
That was last year, probably.
It probably was. No, but now this is like going back like over a decade,
right?
Where it was it was $1 million plus home, and the market just really liked these homes. So very quickly they appreciated dramatically,
right?
And he just like, dude, I'm getting out.
Yeah.
And it's like that's cash in his pocket, right? So when you look at that, it's like, it's an interesting way to do that, and it works. But man, you got to stay mobile. Anytime you go to this guy's house, he had very little furniture.
Right.
It wasn't like really set up.
Or it's light IKEA furniture that I can tear down.
Exactly. So I think it's a sacrifice, right? For sure.
I would agree with all of that, and maybe even add to an option of actually all the rental property, not all of it, most of the rental property I've got. Just like some businesses will say, I don't really have the capital to do all the market research, but if Starbucks is there, I'm in.
Yeah.
Right? So they just use the anchor tenant to say.
Once Starbucks is here, no one does any research.
So if Pulte, the massive home builder, says, I'm going to build a home right here, you know what they've done?
Yeah. Research.
All the homework.
Absolutely.
So you just go in, and if you buy in house number 1 or 2, you're getting a deal because that's just how it starts.
Yes.
And
they have a plan. And their plan, so like my Clarksville project, I pro forma this thing, and I pro forma it for investors. So that's the other thing too. I'm really good at raising money. Yeah. And it comes back to what you said earlier. It's because I have integrity and I have a lot of people who know it. Right. And so I can raise small money, but I can also raise big money. So like I've got a private equity group that just pledged $5.75 million to the Clarksville deal. And it was because I was able to show them how we're going to make the money. Right. And they're like, all right, we got it, 5.75. And that's what's great about that is that's private equity, meaning it's not debt. Right. It becomes the equity that I need in the deal. So I got maybe 250 into the deal, and then these guys are going to marry in 5.75. And I got another partner who's got 500 in the deal. Right. He's the primary guy in this one, and that comes in, and we don't have to put any more cash in. Right. And then we can finance the rest of it from the bank to do all of our vertical, and 144 little tiny homes basically is what we're doing.
You know who makes at every deal always makes money? The bank.
The bank always does.
They're doing exactly what we say. They're like, look, we're going to partner with you and your efforts and the risk you're going to take. We don't want to take those risks or have those people. Yeah. We'll just make money on your money. Yeah. Thank you very much.
So that's my ultimate goal for this is that we're going to be not the bank, but we're going to be the fund. The fund, so right now I've got two. So the real estate, the financial advisor group that Christy works for, Goodwin, I helped him get going with a fund. I gave him seed capital to pay his lawyer. He started a fund, raised $1 million. I used that part of that $1 million for for part of the assemblage on this deal here.
Right.
And he paid me back for what I put into the fund because, we need to keep it clean, right?
Right.
So that I'm not, part of that.
Yeah, right, for sure.
And then it was very useful and very valuable and got us to where we are. And then now this other group, they started a fund for this 5.75, and it's a $10 million fund, and they're giving us 5.75, and they're using the other 4.25 to do some other deals. So that's where I'm going. So now we've sat with another group over in Milton that bought a floor of the building there. So in Milton, I've got 3 projects. One of them, if you guys ever go to the new Starbucks in Milton, you'll see the one of them. It's called Market District Crabapple, Aberdeen Steakhouse. I see you had it here.
I do. That's right.
We just got that group open.
I hear it's a restaurant like none other.
It's freaking awesome. It's just freaking. Aberdeen is freaking awesome.
So it's open and ready for business right now?
Yeah, it's open. Yeah. They're serving, and it's expensive, but it's great steak. It's awesome. I mean,
pay for good steak. If you're going to go to Ryan's Steakhouse, you're not. Yeah, that's not.
And most people do. Like most people travel for steak, right? It's one of all the restaurants that you look at. It's one that people definitely put on that list of like, yeah, we'll drive downtown for that. We'll go to Bones. We'll go to Chops. We'll go to whatever. So like, and I really like Prime 120 a ton. I go here quite a bit. But when it comes to the environment that you're going to experience, the amount of money that Aberdeen spent doing their interior was significant.
Oh wow!
And we gave a lot of it. Like my partnership group, and we put over $500,000 into that deal.
Yeah.
But they put a lot more. So you can tell. I mean, it's evident.
Ambiance is something, but also the service. I mean, just like
service is impeccable.
Remembering what you ordered because you walked in more than twice.
Yeah, exactly.
I will tip big for that.
It kind of reminds me of what Panels and Paul's used to be. If anyone went to Panels and Paul's, what I used to love about Panels and Paul's was that when you were sitting there having dinner, you didn't feel as though there were eyes staring at you, but you realized they were when you like just take 1 second and look at your table like you're missing something, and instantaneously there would always be someone saying, "Can I help you find something, sir?" I mean, always, right?
That's
Aberdeen
awesome.
is the same way.
Yeah.
It's like your drink gets down to maybe 1/4 of the drink is left. Would you like another glass of whatever? And it's not, would you like another drink? It's, would you like another glass of, and they'll tell you exactly what you had.
Yeah.
So that you know that they know exactly what you had.
Yeah.
It's that kind of service, right?
It is different. I will say, as for the younger people that listen and you're thinking, hey, entrepreneurial and what is life kind of like, what's the other side look like? It is fascinating when you do spend the money to do something above board, above the next level, like
above and beyond.
Like the Disney cruise. So we used Kim Trago to set up our Disney cruise. Reed Trago's wife, the guy with the great voice. I need to get him on here. You guys need to hear his voice. But anyway, she says to me, actually, I think it was him. We were doing them together. But anyway, they're like, Disney cruise? Or they said, I may only go on one cruise because I don't really like the idea of being in the open sea. They're like, okay. For twice as much money, but a quarter better experience, you're going to do a Disney cruise if you're only going to do one. I'm like, that doesn't sound like good math.
That's awesome.
Every time something was like you said, I'm looking around for something. Someone showed up with the glass of thing or the ice cream or
whatever.
You're like, how did you
directions,
know? It was
they know.
Fantastic.
Yeah,
and then
Lauren
you go
Brooke
to
just did one of those for her senior trip. Yeah. When all the kids, they went down
to
Costa Rica this year or something. Yeah, I think it was Costa Rica.
Yeah, let's go on a cruise.
And they're like, Disney cruise. So they went with some friends and did that. And they said it was amazing.
Well, or like Sea Island. I'm like, I'm spending how much for a beach vacation? Are you insane? Yeah. We pull up to the gate, the guard gate, whatever. Yeah. And first time, I mean, they don't know anything. And I'm in a car that it might have been probably wasn't brand new.
Like, hello, Mr. McCann.
That's it. And I'm like, what? And they're like, how is Evan, Levi, Evie? And they're just going, I'm like, what? And they're like, and happy birthday too. I'm like, how did you, right? Yeah. In some cases, maybe creepy.
You look creepy, but
super cool. Right. And then you show up, like, I guess they called ahead. And when we pulled in, they're like, hey, Mrs. McCann, we know you like, Frappuccino, Macchiato. I don't know the names of coffee, but pulls one out and we're like, what is going on? So,
it's like weekend shopping here at Apricot Lane. This weekend, we had an event going on at Health Sprout. So we had a little Spring Fest thing going. We had a bounce house, tie-dye stuff for the kids and whatnot. So the plaza was super activated here, people everywhere. So she's smartly providing Prosecco, free Prosecco to shoppers. Come on in. We'd like a glass of Prosecco while you shop. Yeah. And that above and just that little bit.
A little bit.
Oh, I pull up this was going on for a while, and I was busy. I knew I wouldn't be here, but then I came in, and there were two of our patients that have been longtime patients walking across with bags full of clothes. I'm like, oh, that's smart. You went shopping while the kids were bouncing. And like, yeah, and they were smart. They got me a little Prosecco. Next thing you know, I'm just buying clothes.
That's it. Yeah.
but it's that above and beyond thing, right?
It is.
So back to like getting started. One thing too that I think is what my rule has been, because I lived through being tanked in 08 on that deal. And fortunately, I hadn't built the buildings, right? And that 07, 08 development, all I did is develop the land. And so I lost money. Had I built those 3 buildings, I would have been bankrupt and had to rebuild from bankruptcy. Right. And so I'm glad I didn't have to do that. It's funny. I just think about it. Like, man, each one of those, we realized, at the time, I remember pro forming, and it's like, okay, every building is about an $18,000 a month carry cost, which is so funny because today, so I'm carrying these heavily right now because we're not, they're done-ish, but not completely occupied. I wish it was 18 grand to carry these. Like, oh my gosh, that'd be so easy. Yeah. It's freaking 4 times that number. Right. So, but that carry cost, it's like, then there's no way I would have been able to handle it. Right. It would have wiped me out after a window of time. Right. And they sat empty for probably 2 years. Yeah. Because 08, 09, 10, I mean, they probably built them in 9. It wasn't until 11 that Woodstock came back. But Woodstock now, it was funny. At the tail end of that, I saw the glimpse of this special thing in Woodstock. And I said, you know what? Woodstock will be the next Roswell. Oh, yeah. And during 07, 08, 09, 10, I was watching Roswell property values constantly. I kept a spreadsheet, and I was looking at commercial and residential. And I said, this is pretty amazing. They have gone down a very tiny blip compared to like this other market, Woodstock, like all around here. Or I looked at developments on Highway 20. They went down to 0 value. Like a partially developed property up on Highway 20, nobody wanted it. The banks all got them at the ridiculous deal because of that bailout deal that ended up happening. I think that was a stupid thing from that administration at the time. Barack Obama was here, I'd yell at him. But they got, the banks all took back, and so the banks ended up having all this book of business that was huge and had value. When we got to like 15, 16, 17, the value was there, and they got it for nothing, right? But the developers got wiped out. And so I had said, I am never going to do a development that's not in a downtown or surrounded by some market that I know is stable. Right. I want people to demand it through all downturns. Yeah. And we kind of saw that. Like, there was a COVID moment when it was a downturn, and then it was an upturn. Well, and the nice part on COVID for here in Woodstock was for everyone else that doesn't live in Woodstock, I'm sorry, because it was not really a big deal. Yeah, turns out the businesses were all open the whole time. Super vindicated. Yeah, absolutely. Right? No, you're right. And so you actually, so this is later on here on the list, but you went out on a tear doing podcasts and live Facebook feeds. I used to love that. I'm like, preach it, Dr. Eric, preach it. I love that. And people, we lost friends. I got attacked. You more than me. Yeah, I got because attacked. Of where we stood on this. I'm like, look, health and fitness seems to work. You're like, hey. We had life safety risk against my family. Yeah. I had people with threats against my family because I was preaching that this idea of closing down is the stupidest thing ever. It'll never work. It's not just that, but the whole thing doesn't seem to make sense. No, it doesn't make sense. And so there was made up science, and they kept saying follow the science. And you're like, that's not the science. That's not how science works. What are you talking about? Yeah. As an electrical engineer, I know what science can be. Yeah. Yes. So did not that it really matters, but it sort of does. Did anybody come back and say I'm sorry? Yeah, I've had. Did you really have people? Because usually they don't. They're like, you just misunderstood me. I've had half a dozen people that came back to me and said, I thought you were a little crazy, and that is true still. And and I was, and I think in almost all those situations, they said I was nervous. I think they put it on themselves as they were nervous. And I'm like, yeah, look, I'm not. You don't have to say you're sorry to me. I'm glad that you're saying you're sorry. Yeah. You're forgiven immediately because you are following the leadership of the country, and it's hard to pick me over the leadership of the country. Right. I get that. Right. I just wanted people to open their eyes for themselves, and you obviously now have. Right. It's fine that it happened. Yeah. I'm glad it happened. Right. Better now than never. Some people it'll be never. Yeah. And if this were to all happen again, they'd want it to happen just like it did. Yeah. Which doesn't make sense. No, it doesn't. It doesn't make sense. Okay, so back on the business side of the new guy. So I think
one is don't get over your skis. Like, hey, start off small. I like the idea that I hadn't considered of just buy a house with the pool tee, buy the first house, and then keep following their projects because you know they've done all the homework. Yep. But I think something else that people may not understand is you had spreadsheets, you had market data, you lived here in Woodstock for 20 something years.
Yeah, I was
you
able to,
know
I
what
was
you're
able
doing.
to pick Woodstock as being good.
Right.
Before the world told us it was good. Right. So I closed on these 2 properties, and then Money Magazine put Woodstock as number 50 best places to live in the country.
That's because I called him.
Yeah, good job. but it was awesome. I had 2 already.
Yeah.
And then I got another one and another one and then another one, which is where I live right now. And I built that house just because I knew I couldn't develop it the way I wanted to. And that's the other thing too. So I'm flexible. Yeah. So I'll tell you one thing. Cities love me because if I go into something and I'm like, hey, so we're looking to do a project here. What is your long-term vision for this?
And
they're like, wait, what? What's
you
your
add their vision to your plan.
Yeah, like well, I just make the plan fit their vision. Yeah, I don't buck upstream. Where most developers are, we're a single-family ranch home developer. Right. Well, you better not buy that lot because the city will never let you do that. Right. Right. So for me, it's like, hey, what can I do here that makes you guys happy? Right. Okay, good. Now we can work together. Now that said, there's still a lot of here, some will know I had a hard-fought battle here, but it was really less about what the city wanted and more about if the table had been set right by the city. City wanted it, table wasn't set, meaning zoning didn't quite line up the way it was. There were some historical overlays that had some issues, and I wanted height, and even the zoning today doesn't have this height. I still have to get variance on the height, but today they trust that I'm going to do a good job. Right. Well, and again, it's developing those relationships. Yes. Had you not been in Woodstock for 20 years, it would have been hard. Right. And I remember the struggles you had starting. Right. And so those are sometimes it's a communication thing. I am trying to communicate. They're trying to communicate, and we are not communicating. Yeah. But now the road is paved with success. I own a lot down here that could end up being the northern bookend of a dare park. So there's 4.2 acres of woods right here that I own that most people don't know, but it's going to be a dare park. It keeps going. So we go past the roundabout with 4.2 more acres. So we'll be this is currently 6 right now. It'll be 10. And then there's one more in between that and then the A-frame home that I own that's further up. And so I was trying to just sell the A-frame to someone to build a single family home because I'm like, this could be easy money. It's freaking 1.25 acre on Main Street in Woodstock. It'd be beautiful for a single family home. I got a lot going on. It'd be nice to go ahead and just sell this thing off. Yeah. So I got a contract to sell it for $750,000. And I'm like, this is great. Just gonna go ahead and just get rid of this, get some cash. And the city basically said no. Like, wait, what? You're not gonna let me sell? They're basically saying, well, you know the ordinance. I'm like, yes, I know the ordinance. You're gonna make this grid street get put in because basically it's the end of Short Street. Okay. And they want to enforce that grid street to continue Short Street through that property. And they're like, well, now that they're kind of using my own development against me. Now that you've got Charles Johnson's property, there's really only one more in between your current A-frame home and where you're going to be with Charles Johnson. We really would like to see that street connect. Yeah. I'm like, okay, well then you're taking, so I basically said, look, we're all amicable here. I get it. How can I help? So you're taking the property because there's no way that the property can be developed. You've got a 150-foot stream buffer. Now you got a 50-foot right of way, or no, 75-foot right of way you're going to put on me. Like a 225 feet of depth of my 1.25 acre narrow lot that you're eating up, and the rest of it goes uphill to the railroad track. I mean, it's completely topo to the railroad track. I can't possibly develop this. I'll never be able to make any money. So you're going to buy it. Just $750. You take it. You develop it. Beautiful city park. I mean, there you go. Right. Or maybe you can even sell back some property to someone else to develop it. Are they okay with that? Or so no. And I told them that if that's what we were going to be doing, we're coming to this meeting with the intent of you coming up with an arrangement to buy my property. Right. So these are things that people aren't going to understand yet. Like, wait a minute, you just said stream buffer. Everyone should realize there's something like 50 to 100 feet. Yeah. If you're near a stream, you can't touch it. Yeah. So or if you do touch it, they're coming after you. You got 25 feet of engineer. You got state up to 50, and you got city at 75. Right. And so the city can get me into that first 25 with a variance. and that's typically you got to do a few things to improve and they'll let you do that. Actually, I have a meeting today in Alpharetta at 2:00 to talk about just that very same thing.
Right.
We want to put the corner of a house inside of their stream buffer.
Right. Well, and so this is where something like, as you said, hey, partner with Pulti. They don't know you're partnering with them. They've done all the homework. They're going to put a fence up in the right place, and you just buy a plot, and then you live there and you move on.
If you really want to learn this business, the best way to learn this business is to sit in city council meetings and to sit in planning and zoning meetings and sit in design review board, the public meetings that are Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday nights, and sit in those meetings. And you can look at the agenda ahead of time online and see, oh, that's interesting. They're going to be talking about trying to get this apartment thing approved. Let me go watch the whole thing.
Right.
And, now that's a big deal. So apartment might be a little bit over people's heads.
Yeah.
Because no one's coming into apartments with like, oh, we have a quarter of an acre that we're trying to, no, they've got 15 acres and they're, doing something huge. Right. But I've been in so many of those meetings. I've learned a ton. And that's also, you've known that I'm pretty good at this communication thing, right? So I've always considered myself a deal maker. Yep. And that becomes more of that's a political deal making deal. Like how do I make a deal here that looks like I got to make sure these people walk away looking good. Right. Because they're not going to say yes to me if they look bad.
No, for sure. Nobody
I need them to look good. And I need to make sure that I look like I'm just I'm willing to accept all input, right? Like
which technically you actually are because you're doing these ahead of time. You're like, I want everyone to walk away winners.
I got 2 rezonings done in Alpharetta this year. And this year and last year. And both of those were done because I did this whole ground game with the local residents ahead of time. Hey, we're going to be doing this. Come tell me what all your concerns are. Right. I hate this. I hate this. I hate this. Well, if I change it, would that make you happy? Yeah, I'd love it. If I did this, yeah. Okay. And literally the second one, we had 7 people walk up and say, this developer is amazing. They've incorporated everything we've asked them to. Right. We want this project. Right. And at the end of them saying, hey, we're about to vote, this is the city council, hey, we're about to vote, but before we close down and vote, can you tell us a little bit more just about what are the price points and can we come tour when it was crazy. That is awesome. And we got a 7-0 vote on the rezoning. It's just
much different than starting up.
But yes, but it's all about, but that wouldn't have happened if it hadn't been to a bunch of these. Right. To see and the big developers typically don't do that. They just do it wrong. They think they can just steamroll.
And sometimes they can.
Right. So if you actually want to watch a very fun city council meeting that's really worth watching to see steamroll, Mercedes-Benz, Sandy Springs. Okay. Probably 3 years ago now, 4 years ago. How long has that headquarters been there? Maybe even 5 years ago. Sandy Springs, or was it actually Dunwoody proper? One of the two. They were going to say no to Mercedes-Benz for their corporate headquarters. Mercedes.
Is that Milton?
No, it's down in Dunwoody or it's down in Dunwoody or Sandy Springs. One of the two. Mercedes walked in literally 100 people in suits.
Oh my!
And they basically started and said, "Well, you can see we brought our legal team. We don't plan on leaving here tonight until we get what we want." They did. They got everything they wanted. Every city council member was shaking in their freaking boots, thinking they were going to be individually named in a federal lawsuit. They beat the crap out of them.
That's one way to do it.
Got I can't afford that way.
No.
I can't afford that way.
Well, as I said, the IRS doesn't want to go against people with lawyers. Neither the city council.
No,
so
exactly.
So that is good stuff. So if you're brand new and you're thinking, what do? I wholeheartedly agree. I'm still in the single family home world, and you can make a decent living doing that.
Well, let me touch on the other part of that. That is common. What people come to me and ask a lot, or tell me a lot today, that they're like, I want to try to get involved. I want to do where I have an extra building. We would call it an accessory dwelling unit, ADU, that I rent on Airbnb. And I hear and see that a lot. And to that, I would say, yes, know your municipality and the way they are leaning, inside and out, before you go down that path. Yeah. So I have some slightly over $1 million townhomes that are finished in downtown Milton. They're in the heart of everything, right across from City Hall. And, with the market the way it is right now, that price point's a little bit at risk. 1.5 up, not at risk at all. Those people are pure cash, it's fine. But up to 1.5, that's usually a leverage play for most people. And leverage costs a lot more right now. So they're looking at it ooh, I can't afford this anymore. So it's a hard market. And I'm like, how can I make these nicer and sell them for 1.9? Because at one point now, like literally in Alpharetta, I've got that. Those people they're everywhere. They're all moving in from out of town. They're all coming from West Coast, Middle West cities, and Northeastern. And they all come in and they sold a house for $5 million and they walked away with $3 million in cash. And they're like, okay, I'm going to buy that. And I'm going to go buy a beach house in Florida and I'm going to pay cash for both of them.
Right.
And that's great, right?
Yeah.
So that, but Milton will not let me Airbnb those. And no matter what, I could try to find my way around it. Their Airbnb police is so freaking stellar. I would be fine with it. I think I'd be fine within a day.
Wow.
I really think it'd be within a day. So before you go try to do an Airbnb downtown Milton, you got to know. Yeah. So Woodstock loves it.
Yeah.
They love it here. And they license you. You pay them money. They like that, right? Not a lot, but you pay them money. So now they get their little skin off your back.
Sure.
And we have one that we're doing here. I'm building a bed and breakfast here as well that we're going to operate. Now, when I say operate, I should say, I'm not actually operating anything, but I'm going to be 3 layers up of operating. So I already hired a manager underneath me. And then that manager, we have a budget for them to hire a manager beneath them. And then there'll be like an on-site person. Mm-hmm. So like we have to have a lot of people quit all at once for me to ever have to get involved.
Right.
That's also a pretty important part about entrepreneurial effort, right? Get to that point where you replace yourself, right, and then replace the self that you are now with someone else, and then replace yourself again if you can, so that now mailbox money really is mailbox money.
So we went to a conference. I'm a member of the Two Brain Mentoring group. I'm a mentee, so I get mentoring. So if you want to shortcut anything, get a coach, right? If you can find someone like Eric to say, hey, let me follow you around. Mm-hmm. He'll probably say yes as long as you're helpful. Yeah. But find a mentor, right? Yeah. And they will shortcut this thing. So I took Evan and Levi. I said, hey, do you guys...
The hound drives by every day.
Is that... Okay. What's up? The dog? Yeah. That's fine. We want him in here. It's the Woodstock hound. Yeah. So I asked the kids, like, who wants to go to this entrepreneurial sort of gym-related thing? The kids say, 2 of them said, yeah, I'll go. And this is going to be the stupidest thing in the world. And then they go, and they're like, this is awesome. And one of the guys presenting was Buy Back Your Time. He's got a book and he's got a consulting practice, but it's exactly what you're saying. The first thing you need to do is your time is not very valuable. So do it yourself. Yeah. But your time starts to become very valuable. Yeah. You need to pay people to do the thing that either 1, you don't like to do, or 2, takes way too much time. Yeah. Start filling those slots.
Yeah. And entrepreneurs at all levels do this. They all practice this, but most of them practice it to a highest rung point. And in most cases, they're more rungs above. Yeah. Right. Like, cause we all try to get someone else to clean our toilets. Right. Right. But we started there. Right. Health Sprout, it was me. It was just me. Yeah. And I opened 2 practices simultaneous. I literally opened one and a month later I opened another one, that's crazy enough, right? Yeah. Who does that? I did. But it worked. Yeah. And then I opened another one later that same year.
And you're still cleaning toilets.
And I was still cleaning toilets. Yeah. So yeah. And I'm like, and that's one of the things, like, I walk in that office right there.
Yeah. Health Sprout.
I'm pointing at Health Sprout. Sorry. I'm still the only one who does this every single time. And I guess I haven't just trickled it down enough. You see the flag on the front there? It's an Atlanta United flag. Okay. Tell me what the look of that flag is right now. How does it look to you?
It is a little over the edges, so it's like folded up a bit.
The wind has screwed it up.
That's what I'm trying to say, yes.
The wind has screwed it up. Yeah. I'm going to go over there when we're done, and I'm going to fix it. Right. And I fix it every single time. And no one else does. Right. No one else does. That's my job still.
Well, and it's something that you're vested into. I like Atlanta United. I want to show my support. Yeah. And So I do the same thing. So it's weird. Not weird. I think if you want to be a leader that is worth following, the job that is at the lowest level can't be beneath you. Yes. If it needs to be done, you know what you do? You do it. You do it.
You do it. And as long as they see you doing it, they want to work for you and do it too.
They're like, oh yeah, I should have done that.
I want to work for this guy. Yeah. This is the kind of guy, look, he's not just sitting at home saying, hey, what's your numbers like? Right. What are the numbers? What's going on? Yeah. Get some numbers.
So I like, there's Stephen Covey. He wrote 7 Habits of Highly Successful People.
And then he had a base.
Yeah, he has all these things. And his son used the name to write another book, but the book was actually pretty cool. I think it's actually Stephen Covey as well, but he's junior or something. But it's called Business at the Speed of Trust. Okay. So I trust you to do the things that I've shown you. Mm-hmm. And so we operate quickly. Yeah. But I'm not against, if I need to, I will do it myself as well. Right. And so I think those are some things qualities you have to have. If you never stop working on yourself, there's got to be continual self-improvement. Absolutely. And like you said early on, hey, maybe there was a partner that was bad in the deal. I'm like, nah, it was probably me. If you don't look at yourself first and say, how can I correct me? Because you are going to be in every deal that you're in.
Absolutely.
And you need to be growing yourself.
And you don't want to go through what you just went through again.
Right.
So how can you stop that?
Right. And if
not how do you make them stop it?
Right. Because you know how you make them stop it? Just don't do a deal with them.
Yeah, exactly.
And
That's
then
right.
weirdly, you're still there.
And a lot of times that is it.
Yeah.
Like, let me see. Maybe I didn't really figure out what our alignment was up front, and I ended up in something that we weren't aligned on.
Yeah.
Right.
So if there was a book you could recommend or a podcast you'd recommend for these starters or the people, I don't know, maybe I'm 50 and I'm like, shoot, I want to get into this stuff. What would you do? Like, is there advice, easy advice?
Yeah. So it's funny because that's the good question. You framed that well, because in the end, like I did a lot of these like self-help camps.
Mm-hmm. Oh, those are great too.
Chiropractic focused ones specifically, but in the end, they're just good at everything, right?
Yeah.
And they're really good at you just looking in the mirror, right? And I love the intelligence of people who run these things and run them for years, of knowing that if they can destroy you physically, that they can get to your mental side.
Yeah.
Right. So like, and I remember one that was really good where the physical destroying was literally just make you sit in a room for like 18 hours a day. That destroys you. You're just so fed up with it that you just break down by the time that you're like late in the second day, you're ready to do whatever the heck it takes. I got to get out of this mess.
Right.
Oh, and then the flip side, the best one I ever did was they destroyed you physically out in the world. They destroyed you with running and burpees and just endless stuff, right?
Yeah.
And that was great too. And that one was awesome because we were down in like outside of Orlando, and the running was through the orange groves.
I was about to say, I remember something about fruit trees.
Man, the softness and depth of the sand in the orange groves, it's like running on the softest beach you've ever run on.
Yeah.
It's impossible.
Yeah.
It's brutal.
Yeah.
It's really good for this. So that kind of stuff. So I would recommend that, but that's not easy stuff. So back to the easy. I honestly like, there's two books that I feel like Andy Stanley did a really good job giving leadership that trickles into all business. Mm-hmm. And one was like, maybe like it was something along the 7 habits of highly effective churches, or something like that. And man, you talk about trickle down. So the reason I got into those books was because I was part of the steering team that started Woodstock City Church back when it was Watermark. Church. And I was in, and I helped to start that thing. So I got all this training that was basically church planting training offered by North Point. Yeah. And then the other one was, so funny to say it now because here we are in 2023. It was the next millennial leader. Oh. It was like written in like maybe 2002 or something. I don't even know when it was.
Well, that was the distant future at one point.
Yeah, it was. It was the distant future. I mean,
the year 2000,
like Space Odyssey. Like, what the heck? I mean, we've surpassed that so much now.
Yeah.
Like, what?
You missed my flat on the Conchords.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm sorry, I didn't jump on that.
Yeah, you should have.
Yeah, so the Humans Are Dead. Just look that up, guys, on YouTube. Make sure you get the one where it's live, where they talk about the folk band that's a parody comedy of their band that does their song slightly better than themselves.
That's true. It's the older video.
That's
those guys
awesome
have great
video.
songs. Yeah. Flight of the Conchords.
Flight of the Conchords.
They're Australian or New Zealand band.
New Zealand. Yep.
Folk parody band.
Yeah. That's awesome. But yeah, I think those two books, what I really like about those is that they really do a good job of helping people stay focused on this idea of, of one, building your strengths, not your weaknesses. Surround yourself to fill your weaknesses. Right. I think that's important. And that's me. Like, I'm a fire starter, and you know this very well. Oh, yeah. I'm not the organized guy. I leave a trail of fire behind me, and someone needs to, they need to hem that in, right? Yeah. You need to figure that out. So I surround myself with organization, and I surround myself with, project management. Right. And then what I do is I set vision. And I set leadership. And so you touched on leadership before, and I want to say that that's one of the things I want to talk about that just for a second. Sure. So over the years, I've trained probably like 200 chiropractors now. And part of it was back when I had all the offices, I had a bunch of chiropractors. But then since, or even during that time, I've had interns in my office. So I've been an offsite faculty, an extension faculty of Life University for, I don't know, probably 18 years now. Oh, wow. And so in a typical year, I'll train somewhere around like 10 or 12 interns that come through our office. And the thing that I'm always trying to help them understand is leadership. More than anything, it's leadership. And, we have leadership that applies to you leading your team. We also have leadership that applies to you leading the market. Because I want, not only do I want a team to see my vision and follow my vision, I also want the market to see and follow that vision as well. And sometimes, like in development, it's not as direct interaction. It's more of that I set the table
Sure.
for them. So when we came out here, one thing that we never touched on, you were about to tell them when we picked it back up, was that I mentioned I love that Starbucks furniture is very mobile furniture, because when you can pull furniture around, community happens.
Right.
And that's part of part of the decision for this furniture, it was partly my decision and theirs. We had to come to an agreement of what they were going to put in this plaza. Say, hey, I'm going to let you put your furniture in the plaza, but I'm going to make a decision on it. And one of the things I said was, I really want to make sure that you've got small scale furniture that can be dragged around, because the park that I wanted to model after is Bryant Park in New York City, behind that huge, beautiful library. And Bryant Park has these folding little chairs with wood slats. And off in one side of the park, there's stacks. There's like hundreds of chairs. There's hundreds of chairs out in this park.
Just go grab them and make your own.
And then there's little cafe tables that you can drag anywhere. And you walk into that park in a nice spring day, and you will see groups of people, upwards of 20 people, that have congregated and pulled chairs and tables together.
Huh.
And then you come back in 3 hours later, and they've all been pulled apart somewhere else. It's all been dissipated. And this is awesome. Now, I imagine if it weren't for the fact that there's like 1,000 public safety and police officers, it would probably all walk off, because it's very mobile furniture.
Sure.
But there's always police officers around.
Yeah.
So here, I don't think there's been any loss yet on any of this furniture, so it's been good. So anyway, so that's part of how I set that vision.
Yeah.
But one of the things that I always want to make sure they understand is, when you're a leader, the quality of your leadership comes down to how well you can cast a vision and get people to follow you as you pursue it.
Right.
It's the thing is, if I can pursue that vision with intensity. So with fitness and health, like, you think about it, for a while, it was Eric, chiropractor, Eric, 60-day turnaround diet trainer, Eric, CrossFit gym owner. And that vision was a uniform vision.
Right.
This is where I'm going. You better follow me.
Yeah.
And on that vision, to the tune of, I had 800 patients a week coming into that practice. Wow. It's because I could see that and I could go after that. And I created what I say is a wake behind me, the great sucking sound of the void that I'm making behind me.
Right.
And people would just follow in. Otherwise, if I can't do that hardcore enough, and if I can't be committed enough in my own actions, now as I'm walking towards that vision, I'm looking back and, oh wait, there's not people behind me. So now I have to turn back around
and fix all that.
I have to look at them. I'm not looking at my vision. The vision's behind me now, because I'm turned around looking at the person, and I'm interacting one-on-one with somebody. And I tell them, look, if your leadership is that one-on-one interactions, you're going to have 150 people a week coming into your practice.
Yeah.
And that's going to be hard work for you. Where for me, 800 a week wasn't hard work at all.
Right.
All it was me doing the life I wanted to do, and being committed to it. And then back over to what you mentioned earlier, being that person of integrity who followed that vision and followed that mission and was on that path, is what then, when I went from assembling 2 parcels here to 3 and 4 and 5, saying, you know what, I'm going to need some cash, and getting Goodwin to start a fund to help me, and going off and finding another partner who's now put over $2 million as an individual into my projects. Right. Finding those people was easy for me because I'm a person of integrity, and they knew that. And then after years of going, I was probably 3-4 years in, having a buddy of mine who was a guy that I led on a college hockey team. So I was a captain of my college hockey team. He's he's probably worth $200 million. He's a good friend of mine. And he had a very tight relationship with this billionaire. And I was sending deals to him. I'm like, look, I know you can't really do due diligence from where you are, but just in case there's ever something that looks good and you want to take a look at it, I'd love to have you down, walk through, you get some money into these deals with me. And he sent the chief investment officer of this billionaire family office. He liked the deal. Now I'm 5 years in to a relationship with that billionaire family office, which makes me feel like no risk I take in a project that he's involved with is a risk too great. Right. Because the relationship. Right. If he was just a lender, right, well then I'd be nervous. Yeah. But he's a partner. So we've done deals together where we're just equity partners. Right.
I'm going to throw in a little tangent here. So integrity, yes, but you can be the most integral, person. Yeah. You also have action. And that, I guess, analogy of I like the sucking sound in the void and people coming with you, but also the burning down. When you burn things down, there is new growth, and you can be there for the new growth. So there's some interesting analogies you can play there, but all that is true. I think the other thing that people need to understand is with integrity and action also comes, sometimes you need to take it on the chin. So I know you had a deal with these guys and you said, hey, look, it went south. And you know who I'm going to make sure you're whole and I'm going to hurt myself. And that's just the way it is because that's the right thing to do. Which sucks. But builds incredible relationship. And they're like, I can trust this guy.
I've had small investors now that I've returned $4 million to over the last, window of time. So that's like guys that come in with like 100 grand, 200 grand. I've returned $4 million to those guys as principal and equity. And I've probably got another 4 million coming over the next 2 years. So that's a pretty nice place to have, because now I got people, and some of those people are in multiple deals where some have paid off really well and some are not paying off that well, but they're still paying off, right? And I'm that guy's like, look, this is why, this is what we're doing. And in some cases, there are actually decisions that we've made because, hey, look, COVID changed everything. We had to change our direction, and we did. Even though it seems like, wow, we kind of all got over it. But man, I was going to be delivering a CrossFit gym that was going to be opening up. Literally, if I had followed that path, it would have opened like June 2020. Right when you were shutting down, right?
Right.
I mean, it's like,
I'm
so glad we didn't get stuck in that position. Like when we saw that we were going in that path and we saw that like, oh my gosh, we can't do this. And it really helped to make that change. And now that project is another co-working space, actually over in Milton.
Right.
And in co-working, you were asking, what is co-working? Co-working is pretty cool. Basically, it's like private office rental. So in this space right here, so Collaborate Woodstock, we've got 32 private offices, 14 are currently pre-leased. It's going to open up July 1st. And then we've got spots.
How would somebody find I want to use that space? How do they find that?
CollaborateWoodstock.com.
Okay. Weirdly, you actually titled it what it is. I love that.
And it was called Woodstock Millworks because there was someone else who was gonna run it, and then just the finances to get it open were too significant, and so he was like, "I really can't do this. I need to exit," and so I inherited it. And I said, I think the finances are totally worth it. And I think it'll make a ton of money. And I'm so excited by what we're seeing right now with this. And we're doing another one in Milton as well. So if you have a desk here, if you have an office here, or if you just rent a hot desk, which is like a membership, then you have, rights in Milton as well. So you can pop into Milton and sit at a desk and work there too.
So if I want to be part of that, you can go to that website. What if I want to be part of the sucking sound or the regrowth of the burning down of the Eric Richards direction? How do I get involved in that?
Yeah, so I'm a pretty open guy to having conversations with people that have something to bring. So like kind of what you said earlier, like if someone reaches out to me, you're pretty sure that I'll let them follow around as long as they're useful.
Right.
And I absolutely am. And it made me think there's a guy who reached out to me like a week ago and I was like, yeah, totally. And I haven't yet got back to him. But yeah, I'm always looking for people.
So advice for Eric, just show up. Because if you wait for him to reply.
Yeah. No, it's really true.
I'm going to go ahead and take the first step. And if he doesn't like you there, he's going to actually tell you, hey, you're in my way, go away. Or you're going to be, if you show up with the right coffee, he's probably going to be like, okay, you can stay for a while.
Yeah, let's sit down and talk. Well, like this morning, my wife's a partner in this deal, right? So she's over in Milton we've got 3 projects in Milton, and she's at one of them today because the GC, so we have for our mixed use buildings, our GCs are non-residential GCs, they're commercial GCs. And when we have residential in it, we actually finish that. So we GC that project under the GC's license. So my wife is
GC.
Yeah, so the general contractor.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I know that.
Yeah, you know that, but it's good to say that. And so when I would say commercial versus residential, basically what it means is like if you have a commercial general contractor and you tell him, really?
He's going to fix your flag.
You're going to do that while that office is open at this time of day?
Whatever. You got good music playing, so nobody even knows that.
Talk to Huckleberry about that. Yeah, exactly. It's tough to get something finished the way you want it if it's a commercial GC. They just won't do it because none of their subs think that, I need to make sure that all these lights are lined up.
Oh,
because in a commercial world, they're like, we couldn't line up. We lined up a couple of them, but this one had to move over because there was something in the way.
Sprinkler or whatever, sure.
Yeah, sprinkler in the way, right? And we're like, yeah, move the sprinkler. I mean, like, if it's a residential, like people want things to make sense and feel right. And so we have to do all that on our own. So Laura's over there today.
Yeah.
And she's handling because there's a lift. There's one lift. The elevator's not operational on that property yet. So there's one lift and we have countertops and tile guys getting stuff up with the lift today. So she's got to be there to help manage that whole process and make sure that what gets done in the right order, because we really want the countertop guys to get going as fast as they can. But at the same time, if we can get the tile guys to get at least their flooring tile up from unit 3, then the countertop guys can put countertops up the rest of the day. And then by the time the tile guys are done with the floor in unit 3, now they can get the rest of their stuff up to start doing backsplash on top of the counters. You know? So it's all that coordination that has to happen. She's doing that today.
There is proper, so into the people who are thinking, hey, how do I get involved and what do I do? There is proper timing involved in some of this stuff.
Oh, totally.
So your children are mostly, I mean, they're not adults, but they're almost there. They're high school. They're self, they can do whatever they want. Here's some money. Here's a car. Go do your thing, right? Yeah. So you don't have babies to maintain. So I probably would say that if you're about to have a baby, you don't want to live this life yet.
Yeah. Don't do it yet.
Or if you've got kids that are like in like the preschool age, it's probably, you want to start on the small side, and there's a season for it. So this is something that so I'm almost 50. I think I've been saying I'm 50 for the last 10 years. Yeah. But anyway, so I never really liked certain things. Or how about this? I never saw the value of, so we got, it's life, people driving by. I never saw the life or the reason for a mentor, really, until I now hit 50 and I'm like, dang it, I could have shortcut so many things. I wish somebody would have told me, or really, I wish I would have listened to it. But like, so I'm in this men's group, but there's a guy who's 20 years older than me leading it. And I'm like, this is fascinating. He's saying things that I wish I have known, right? Yeah. And then the value, like you and I were in a small group and we were like kids, like, hey, what's your biggest problem? Well, I don't know. We didn't really have big problems, right? But now I've got these guys who it comes from the Paladin Roundtable from the Fellowship Christian School. And we have life under our belt. And so anyway, my point in all this is there are seasons of life that sometimes it just doesn't make sense. Like you just can't do that. And I want to be the guy, I want to be you right now at 25. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah, no.
You need to like put in the time. And,
absolutely.
And that's just part of it.
And I think one of the things, on leadership and on mentorship and all that I think is important too, I said a lot of things with extreme conviction in my 30s that, I guess I would accept it as absolute truth.
Sure.
That today I would say I was wrong.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I was wrong. And it's an interesting thing. It's just that thing that happens with experience where you start to realize, you know what, there's a little bit of a life view difference that changes truths based upon where you are in your life. And that could be in your stage of life. It could be your socioeconomic place. Anything, right?
Right.
And so I do think that one of the things that is really good to just grasp. There's certain things that you just know are true, right? You just know without question are truth. But it's good to grasp that there's always that opportunity for some variation in what that real truth can look like to you or to someone else. And they might change over time. And it helps you be a little bit of a better, communicator with individuals.
Sure.
How do I get people to see what I'm saying, to get excited about what I'm saying? And there's a bit of that commitment and passion that are required. There's also a bit of that understanding that, this has to be a little bit flexible. Sure. Depending on what I'm talking about. So I think, that's one thing I realized over the last 5 years, as you get older and like you said earlier, like the sports that I played as a youth have now caught up with me in many ways.
Right.
Like I tell you, the one thing that I can't stand is that I get these horrible calf cramps.
Oh yeah.
That, and it's like, I keep thinking I'm going to get back into an adventure race. So like, I don't know, maybe 6 weeks ago I was like, I'm going to go trail run, and I'll run around the street and I'm okay. Calves tighten up. Did a trail run. I was like coming out of the trails, I did whatever the far side of rope mill is there. So I did the 3 loops, and just as I was finishing up the loop, my left calf just went in a complete spasm.
Oh man.
Just completely cramped.
Oh,
and
dang.
So I was like, man, good thing I drove here.
Right. Yeah, that's right.
My gosh.
I can walk home
So
slowly.
I'm hobbling out, of that approach trail.
Right.
I'm hobbling out of that to get to my car. I'm like, dang it. And it took like it took like 3 weeks before I was really ready to try something else.
Yeah.
I took the dog for what I thought was going to be a 1 mile run. I went about a quarter of a mile and it cramped up again. Now, it wasn't as bad as that time, but it basically was like, okay, now I'm walking.
So I'm going to fix some things here. Have you tried stretching? Your old nemesis.
Well, not enough.
Okay. Yep.
So of course, post-injury, then I'm like stretching like crazy to try to get over it and get well. But I think, so I approached that second run, that was the attempt back with lots of stretching. But had I approached that first one with that same kind of commitment to stretching, I think, maybe it would have been different. And I think the other thing too, like it reminded me of this time when Joe Drury was scoring me in one of our open workouts.
Yeah.
And it was the one that we had like a bunch of double unders and light snatches.
Okay.
And it was probably the second year that we did that. We had it 1 year, and then a couple years later they had it again as maybe a slightly different version.
Yep.
And I remember I set up a 45-pound plate right next to me, and I would do my snatches. I grab the jump rope, I go over there and I stretch my heel, and I do my double unders. And I remember we had a girl in the gym that was super strong, but was also really a good gymnast. She was a gymnast I can't remember her name now.
Yeah.
Tattoos on her arms and stuff.
You just described most.
I can't. It's not coming right now. But I remember she was like, "How did you?" Because I beat her.
Yeah.
How did you have time to stretch your calf?
Right.
I'm like, yeah, I didn't have time not to.
Right. That's right.
But the reality is, I mean, you know this too, because we've done this so well, which is to game competition and understand it. It's like I was full intensity on the snatches and the double unders.
Yeah.
And I just took my rest when I had to stretch my calf.
That's right.
So I did my
Very
snatches like probably 5 seconds faster than you did.
Yeah.
Because I knew that I needed to stretch my calf.
Right.
So
you should actually come to one of the classes I coach. I say things like, hey, this is a tool in the tool bag. You would be like, yeah, of course. But everyone else are like, well, that's magic. How did you know to do that? I'm like, well, 15 years of CrossFit. Plus, in the early days, it was like, when we do Barbara, it's do this amount of work, you get 3 minutes of rest. Our goal was to do the amount of work in 3 minutes.
Yes.
How can we possibly make that happen?
Yes.
Sometimes we have to go slower to go faster, right?
Yeah.
But
because that's the thing, because in the end of the day, we know from like different like Tabata and such that if I actually can have an equal work rest time, I can recover.
Oh yeah.
Because Tabata, you can at some point. You're not recovering anymore, right?
No.
Like that's like, oh, I'm dead.
So I tell people
to be 2020.
I tell people all the time, like in Jumanji, strength is my weakness. So if it's heavy, I'm not going to do well. But what I didn't realize that was a superpower is recovery. So when I wrestled in high school, you wrestle for 2 minutes, you get a 1 minute break, you wrestle, so it's 3 times. Mm-hmm. I thought everyone was coming back after the first break, like, that's fresh, let's go.
Yeah.
I didn't realize until we got into CrossFit, you're like, I am just whipped, I don't feel recovered. I'm like, weird, wait a minute. And so it's a stupid superpower. Like, wait, your superpower is recovery?
Yeah.
How useful is that, right?
Oh, it's incredibly useful.
Only in CrossFit. Yeah. But it's fascinating.
Well, it's also useful in fighting.
I don't really fight anybody.
Yeah, but if you
just run.
Right? Like,
I'm too small.
Like wrestling or jiu-jitsu. Like, I mean, there's a massive recovery time there if you know how to lock someone up and not be at high intensity.
That's true.
Just let yourself recover.
That's it.
Just let yourself recover.
It's just your grip that's going to go.
Yeah. So don't use that arm again.
Circling all the way back to Ansley and the adventure race, because you brought up adventure racing again. Brooke, sorry. It's only 2 kids. Come on. I can remember both names. So we do. There is an easy adventure race. So the Swamp Fox is in South Carolina.
Yep.
We've got
and that's easier than, does Fort Yargo not exist anymore?
It doesn't really. So they changed it into a 50K jog. That's horrible. Stupid. Yeah, I would not do that. I mean, some people do that.
I was like, we got to find
easy.
See if we have
so
that
the reason that I say it's easy is because it's flat. It's South Carolina. So the mountain biking becomes easy, and the mountain biking is the toughest part. So I did an adventure race with Evie, and she's like, I'm not really sure about this mountain biking thing. So when there was a 1% grade, she's like, can we push our bikes? I'm like, you know what, honey? Yes, we can push our bikes. Absolutely. And I would push both bikes. Like, I'm here for you to say, my goal is for come back. I won a second race. It's the F's in there, right?
That's right.
So the Swamp Fox, it's St. Patrick's Day usually, so it might mess up with their school schedule. It's sometimes around the either spring break or finals, so it might not coincide very well. But it's flat. And so, of course,
which is a huge value for, Blue Ridge. Not
flat. So the Blue Ridge, we just did it.
Yeah.
They put us out on the railroad track.
12 hour? You do 12 hour?
10 hour. 10 hour.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, they had, actually it was only 10 hour.
Okay.
So it's the longest running adventure race.
Yeah.
And the guys running it, super awesome guys.
You still cut a log off at the end?
Is that? No, it's not. Yeah, they changed it a bit.
Yeah.
But we did ride down a railroad track for what seemed like 10 miles, and you had to ride in the center pretty much.
Annoying.
And it was nutty. Pun intended. So I was like, I can't do this. It was really painful. Super fun. And it would be hard to cut out some of the biking, and but there are some races where you can literally just, I'm just not going to bike. So Evie and I just stayed on she's like, can we take the road instead of the trail? I'm like, yes, honey, we can totally do that. But there are only certain races you can do that with.
Yeah, absolutely.
So the mountain biking,
and typically, if you're choosing that, you're probably delaying or slowing down your ability to get checkpoints.
But again, Evie and I cut out a lot, and she came in first for solo females.
That's awesome.
There was only 2. Stage whisper. But still, she beat whoever it was.
Yeah.
And that other person tried to collect all the checkpoints.
Oh, yeah.
And because the cutoff, like every 10 minutes you lose a checkpoint.
Yeah, they missed.
She was actually,
a long time.
Yeah. So it was pretty funny. But
that's cool.
So the answer is yes, if she has a mountain bike. Olivia and Evan are kind of getting into mountain biking again. Yeah. So maybe she should reach out.
Yeah,
and
I bought the mountain bikes
with me.
Like cheap mountain bikes. They were a couple $100, I think, or $300 back when COVID hit.
Yeah,
I bought mountain bikes so that everyone would have a bike. That would be good enough just to ride around town.
Yeah, Mosquito Flat. It's an easy one. Just go ride on it. Just go do.
So we ride from here over to Rope Mill.
Oh,
and then they've done all 3 loops of the other side of the highway.
Okay,
that one. They've done that, and so they don't like that one section. If you're familiar with that one, there's one section where you've got kind of this rocky thing.
Yes.
You've got a rope holding you in.
Yes.
They don't like that.
So
they walk there.
Yeah.
So
hey, get off your bike, whatever.
Yeah.
You know what the better than momentum to get over the obstacles is to get off and walk.
Get off and carry it. Yeah.
But weirdly, momentum.
That?
Oh, that's yummy.
That was just this weekend. I went over my handlebars.
So it's a tattoo in the form of scars.
Scars, yeah.
Or scabbing.
And it was one of those where my bike I needed some stuff. Like it was just like the brakes weren't that good. I had a flat tire. So I'm like, let me just work on my bike for a second. So I fixed the flat tire, checked in the brakes. I got the front brake working really great, but the back brake did not improve.
Yeah.
And so when I grabbed that back brake, I was coming downhill and I needed the back brake. It didn't. So I grabbed the front brake a little bit. And
over.
It was like amazing because I was just hitting into a root at the same moment in time. It's just the worst timing.
Yeah.
Man, you know how fast gravity
Did
works.
you exit the bike? No, I guess you exited poorly.
Yeah. So I went over this way.
Handlebars to the right.
And the handlebars kind of flew up. And the bike I actually saw the bike come over the top of my head.
Oh, geez.
When I was down. So I mean, it was a pretty good downhill. So I hit hard.
Did you get a slow clap from one of your kids?
They didn't have them with me today. I was alone that day.
I do want to get back into biking some. So we biked the Benton Mackay, which is always a big no-no.
Yeah.
But they're like, no, this portion you can bike. So I'm with Eddie and Jason, and we're biking the Benton Mackay, and it's not meant to be biked. And so I got a spot like that, and the front wheel stuck. And so instead of the wheel spinning, the whole bike started to spin. But I don't clip my feet in anymore because tore my meniscus doing it.
Yeah.
So I exited the bike.
Nice.
In a little short run walk down the hill and turned it into a dance. And they're like, wow, I'm surprised you're not dead. I'm like,
it's good if you can get your feet out quick, for sure.
I just walked out of it.
That's awesome.
So the other thing I wanted to tell you on the adventure racing, so Jason said, hey, I have plantar fasciitis pains.
Yeah.
Do you mind if we walk the jog parts? I'm like, yeah, no, let's totally do it. So if you're into racing and you don't mind skipping things, I'm totally into, it's just about having the fun, not really about winning or finishing. I mean, maybe finishing, but So hey, can I walk this with you, Andy? Yeah. So I'm actually signed up for the
long races. We used to do mostly walking.
That's exactly. I don't do 24-hour races anymore.
Yeah,
I'm too sleepy.
Yeah.
So I have a 10-hour race in Ocoee.
Okay.
That I signed up a 2-man team for. It's just me so far. So if you want to get your feet back under you, pun intended, and you want to walk some of it and cut things out.
Ocoee, we raced that.
It's July
I raced
15th.
that once before I raced Ocoee. I remember swimming across like from
That's the
point
one where we had
that
to
we used
drag somebody behind a canoe,
and
then we swam.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
that was
that's
a weird race.
That was a weird race.
Yeah, that actually came up in a memory the other day for Facebook. Whatever. But all right, let me run through some speed things. You can say pass, or we can dive in deep, or you can give one-word answers for these.
Okay.
Okay, so these I have the sheet we never even went through.
Yeah,
but Ansley Soccer, go.
Yeah, great. I mean, it's fabulous. I've got a daughter who is very committed to being a college soccer player at some point. She's she was a freshman, so now she'll be a sophomore this coming year. Won state championships with that high school team, which was great. Her club team, it's a great team. We're very competitive. We are, not an ECNL league, but we have beaten ECNL teams, the ones that are willing to play us. So it's been good.
How do you be a good dad on the sidelines?
And dad on the sidelines.
You're not a good dad on the sidelines. You yell at everybody.
She doesn't really mind what I do. I usually don't yell at her.
Okay.
So I think that's key.
Yeah.
But she, it's interesting. She looks for my advice, but doesn't want it during the game.
No kid does.
No, it actually is. Kelly Rodman.
Oh, yeah?
On the high school team.
She likes the advice.
She looks up at her dad looking
Give
for
me some
advice.
insight.
Yeah.
So that is good. That's a good relationship. Usually it doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he doesn't yell. He makes
gestures.
Gestures.
They have sign language worked out.
And he was a college soccer player, so she trusts him.
Well, there you go. So I
was
have two
a college
podcasts.
Hockey player. I wasn't a college hockey player. Right. So
hit him hard. No, different sport.
Exactly.
I have two podcasts on this. One is Don't Be That Jerk Dad, and the other is how to actually partner with the team. Like, weirdly, parents ask the coach a question. That would probably be useful. Yeah. So you have a friend that turned in impeachment articles on the current president.
Yeah, that's pretty funny.
Pass or go?
No, it's cool. Okay. So Marjorie Taylor Greene, who's known as like the crazy, congresswoman, she's from the Milton area, and she is so funny though because my experience with her wasn't good.
Right.
She's the one who came in, and Laura said, "Why do you have this woman working as a trainer in your CrossFit gym? What does she want?" I'm like, "No, she loves CrossFit, just wants to help out." And Laura was like, "No, she doesn't.
Women are smart."
And sure enough, Laura was right. She stole our trainer.
Well, you can't really steal. It's a business. They just walked up. Hey, so perspective. Again, time gives us perspective.
No, and in the end,
so you guys friends now? Are you guys good? Or you just saw a cool post from her?
Yeah, I haven't talked to her in forever.
Yeah, but she turned in what?
She put articles of impeachment against Joe Biden, and she actually worked for me. Worked for you too. You actually.
Oh, did I?
You owned.
I was there at that time.
Yeah, because it was before Travis left.
Okay, I have a old man itis. So people are like, "Hey, when did that happen?" I'm like, "That was last year." And they're like, "No, dude, that was 10 years ago." I'm like, "Dang it."
Well, you wouldn't have known that she was there because that was my job.
That was
right? I managed that while you were over at Garage.
Right. So not the Chiefs. It was the other thing. Okay, so
So I do love the Buffalo Bills, and I'm a season ticket holder of the Buffalo Bills, and I'm a season ticket holder of the Buffalo Sabres,
and
Atlanta United. And if Alpharetta gets an NHL team here, like there's a possibility they could come back here, then I will be a season ticket holder here as well.
You'll be surprised to know that my dad and I used to go to the Farm League hockey games because I really enjoy watching that sport.
Was that Atlanta Knights back then? I think
it was the Knights, yes. It was. I had no idea really what was happening. I just liked the grace of what was happening.
Yeah. Hockey's a fabulous sport to watch live. I mean, it's the speed at which it happens is just incredible. And it's fun to watch.
And it's here in Georgia now, which is crazy because we don't get really that icy, snowy stuff. Snowmageddon was actually only an inch of snow.
What is interesting is that there are two kids that were born here that played together out of Alpharetta. One was here in Woodstock for a while, and then moved to Alpharetta. I know his dad pretty well. I actually know both their dads. They went up and they played for University of Maine, Black Bears. One was a year older than the other. They both graduated now since, and they both have gone on to play professional hockey.
Wow.
Who are from here. I mean, they're from here. Cool. So it's like we're getting our own professional hockey players from born and raised here in Georgia.
Tell me a message of hope. We had a friend that had terrible tragedy. So what's your message of hope?
Yeah. So, I mean, in the end, there's a mission and purpose for all this stuff, right? So the one thing that I think that got me committed to the idea that risk wasn't risk and reward was reward, was to fully grasp that King David, was just a man.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Like any other man who had a blessing like every other man. He just chose to believe it. Yeah. And he believed it better than most people will ever believe it.
Yeah.
So if there's a message of hope, it's that, that guy and what he was, now obviously, he screwed up in the end and squandered it all, but that's on him, right? The blessing that he had is everyone's blessing. So no matter what's going on in your life, no matter how bad it is, I guarantee you that God is willing to give you what he gave David.
Right. And there's people who will talk to you.
Absolutely.
Don't ever think that a final end is a final end. You just pass your problems on to the next people.
Yeah.
Talk to somebody.
It's pretty crazy. Because I know in my life, I've been at times where it's been so bleak that I've like, wow, Like it'd be
Everybody has those
It'd
thoughts.
be a lot easier.
Everyone has those
to
thoughts.
just end it and not go through this, right? And to think that in those moments, how bad it can feel.
Yeah.
And in some cases, I think I felt like it had a 180-degree turnaround within as short as 7 days.
Yeah.
Like
So,
my life is amazingly blessed.
I mean,
it's pretty crazy.
I've got friends who went through divorce and it feels like the end is nigh.
Yeah.
And weirdly, time will heal. I mean, it doesn't feel like it will, but time does.
But yeah, I lost a friend who was a friend from my high school years, and I hadn't seen him in a long time. That just happened. And I think it was an OD. I don't think it was a potential suicide.
Yeah.
And it just happened like 4 days ago.
Oh, geez, I
So
didn't know about that.
that's my current Facebook profile picture. It's a picture of him from high school.
Okay, that makes more sense. Yeah.
And then my other friend, who's a partner in one of my deals, his was such a sad situation. His 29-year-old daughter basically had a breakup and had a hard time seeing how she was ever going to end up having a family. And it's like this beautiful young woman, 29 years old, and took her life.
Yeah.
Just so
Talk
sad.
to somebody. So I had a conversation with Jamie Thomas, who is a counselor, and she said it's normal to talk to people. Don't feel so talk to somebody.
Yep.
Other side of it is intentional investing in your children. I love it. You took Ainsley skiing. It was
Brooke,
I mean, dang it, man! You and your kids. Can't you just have one? So I have
this
one
year,
day?
I've done more with Brooke this year because of the senior year.
Right.
So I took Brooke. We had a good time. I took her up to Buffalo to go to a Buffalo Sabres game and a Buffalo Bills game. That was towards the end of the season of the Bills season. It was great. Awesome time. And then we went skiing as a family. And I was like, hey, look, we bought these Epic passes. We've got 3 more days on these passes. I think I'm going to come back. Does anyone love it so much they want to come back? And Brooke was like, I love it so much. I'm like, all right, cool. We're going to reach out to my cousin who owns a place. And instead of us spending a whole lot of money, we'll use our passes and we'll use his ski gear.
Oh, nice.
We actually didn't have to rent anything.
Oh, wow.
He had so much stuff. We all found everything that fit perfect. It was great. And we stayed at his place. And so it's like we paid for a car to get us from the airport to his place. And we paid for flights and that was it. And skied for 3 days and it was awesome. Had a great time. And I got her on, we were in a bowl at the height. We were at Breckenridge, back bowl top. I mean, I couldn't believe that I got her up that lift. When I did, I was able to get her down without her crawling. Yeah. But it was stressful. Yeah. But then she went back up and did it again. Nice. So I was like, look, you just conquered, excuse me, what was one of the most intense, when you're on a steep slope, if you haven't done it before, it's kind of like, how am I going to do this? Yep. Right. And she didn't know how she was going to do it.
We went to Breckenridge also over the spring break, and the kids were like, let's go to this one area. I don't know, it was all the way to the right. I'm like, sure, whatever, let's do it. And I'm snowboarding because my knee is
the tree line,
messed up.
that spot?
It was.
Yeah, yeah.
And I'm like, wait a minute. Yep. I don't know if I can get down this because I'm not that good of a snowboarder. And so the whole time it was like, turn and don't die, turn and don't die, breathe and don't die, turn and don't die. And so we got down and they're like, that was okay. I'm like, that was horrid.
Yeah.
I'm too old for that risk.
Because what happens, right? Steep enough, in the moment that you have to turn the other way, you pick up too much speed. Yeah. It's like, I eventually can't just keep going right this whole mountain. I have to turn back to the left. You point your skis downhill, your snowboard downhill, and you pick up speed so fast. Right. Like, ooh,
I think it would have been okay if it weren't for all the other people who were also nervous and created too much bumpy spots. Yeah. So the bumpy spots made my turns all right. So I think also that your extra trip possibly was the 0.00732 that your daughter needed to be valedictorian. But choose it. I don't know, whatever.
I know, it's pretty funny. They were, I think it was 0.063 apart.
It was very close. I looked at it. I don't remember the number. Trying to do the math the wrong way.
It was pretty stupid how close it was.
So we did Starbucks. It's here. You also have Starbucks down in Milton. Yep. So killing it there. A great business advice. Use Pulte, Starbucks, whatever. Let them do the market work, or stand in the wake of people like Eric and just come along for the ride.
Yeah, and just on that, just with this deal was painful on the front. I couldn't have a Starbucks here if I had one building, because I'd never make the money back.
No, right.
I'd never make it back because they beat you up.
Oh yeah.
So I mean,
because they can.
I put so much money into this. They put so little into this.
Right.
The plaza, I paid for almost their entire build out inside.
Right. Yeah.
So it's a huge.
That's what happens when you're the investor and you have the vision.
But the good thing is, I did get a percentage rent deal with those guys too. Already, it is way above our floor rent.
Right.
And we're
very good.
Month and a half in.
I mentioned Arnold Schwarzenegger. He did that. He was the first guy to say, "I will take a percentage of the movies." I think maybe not the first guy, but
one of the guys early on. It was like, don't give me salary. I'll take a percentage.
If it does well, it does well. If it doesn't,
I'll get hurt. Yeah. Yep.
So we sort of talked about your stance on the COVID, and I love the fact that you were so vocal. It let me not be vocal. I could just share your stuff.
Yeah.
I am a little bit nervous about sharing things that are
and I think I was perfectly positioned to be that guy because everything that we were talking about is something I had spent years studying.
It was.
It just fit me.
You're like,
it was almost like it was crafted for me.
It was. And you were like, I literally have studied this stuff.
Yeah. Like
and I love it when people would post, you're like, let me just bash that real quick. Let me just talk, right? I'm love it. And you're articulate. And I love the fact that you can, like today, I'm like, do you want an outline? You're like, no. I'm like, of course you don't.
No,
right?
You're
like, seat of the pants guy. And
Absolutely.
It's still done really well.
Let's just talk.
So that's I think that is hard to cultivate. The way you cultivate that is you do that. So you get better at presenting by presenting.
So it's funny. So just back to, so this is also for anyone else listening, like in your field, like, are you prepared? So I talk to when I train a chiropractic student, I tell them, look, there's a message that you want to deliver.
Right.
The fact that I practice the message doesn't mean that it's fake. It means that I'm going to be able to deliver it. You're at a point in your life right now, all these guys as students, you're at a point in your life right now, you should not have a radio on in your car. I don't care if it's talk radio, podcast, music. It shouldn't be. It should be you talking to yourself.
Yeah.
And every question and objection that you could ever imagine, you need to walk through that 1,000 different ways.
Right.
And you need to have that so down that you're just ready to rock.
Right.
And then when you walk into this room here, so I always point to the room, we kind of call it that sacred room where it's our exam room. On the other side of this room is someone waiting to hear you for the very first time. If you walk through this door and you aren't in state, if you haven't paused and said, okay, I'm in a crazy moment in my practice over here, this person's about to get the best of me. If you don't do that and say that and be intentional about your state, I don't want you walking in that room.
That's right.
Don't you dare walk in that freaking room.
Legendary
You're not
service.
Ready. You are not ready.
That is true. And you can either hear it from a mentor, or you can put your tongue in the socket.
Yeah, exactly.
Figure it out on your own.
That's exactly it.
But you can shortcut everything if you listen to somebody who's gone before.
So I train that. I'm like, okay, let's role play. Let's do it. I'm the first. So we role play constantly, and I'll tell them I'm very, very, very. I'm a nice but very direct individual, and nice in that I'll tell you, hey, that absolutely sucked.
Right.
But this is why.
Right. You're
trying too hard here.
Right.
You're trying. And I always set them up like, look, if you want to communicate fabulous, the way you need to communicate is you need to communicate this message like you're communicating it with a cousin that you haven't seen much over the last 5 years.
I like that. Give them somebody to
you have a little bit
envision.
of relationship, and you both had one drink. One drink.
I like that.
Because now you're authentic.
Right.
Before the drink, you're a little bit nervous. You're not fully authentic.
Right.
One drink in, you're authentic and you're comfortable-ish.
Yeah.
Not comfortable, because you're never going to be comfortable with that person for the first time.
Right.
Comfortable-ish.
Right.
Now, go.
Yeah.
Be that person.
That's good advice.
And I work with them and train them, and a lot of times, by the time they walk out, they're 100% better than they were, and about 1,000% below where they need to be.
Right. Yeah. Well, and that's the thing. You always got to be learning. Okay. You're always
it's training,
growing.
It's training.
You took a dive into politics.
Yeah.
I love that. If I could have voted for you, I would have, but I'm not in the right district.
And honestly, I didn't have.
I want you to be city mayor, by the way. That's in the future.
Yeah, not here. I love the mayor we have here, and I want him to be the mayor forever. He'll do a better job than I could ever do. What I really like is influence.
Yeah.
And so I don't think I'm going to go in the political route again. I didn't have my heart in being on the board of education, but I surely had my heart in influencing.
Yeah.
And I created some pretty good relationships that I like out of that.
Good. Hey, a big part of learning who you are is where to say no.
Yeah. And so that was one where I said I was being pushed hard to run. And I was like, yeah, I think I could do this. And in the end, there might have been someone who could have won, who I might have taken something, made it difficult for them. In the end, I don't think that they would have been great at it. They might have been better than the person who did win our district. It's hard to say. But I do think that person is also better off for their future if they're going to continue down this political path. So there's a lot it's an interesting thing. Politics is really interesting. You don't have as much power as you would like ever. But at the same time, you have more power than you know.
Right.
And that's usually how it goes. So I think it's good to have influence.
Yeah. Don't be
Influence is key.
afraid to express yourself. Don't be afraid to try stuff.
Yeah.
But more importantly, figure out where your no's are.
Yeah.
Don't like.
And I wasn't too I didn't expect a whole lot out of it, and so that's why I just spent my own money. I didn't raise any money from my political campaign. I just self-funded the whole thing.
Right.
But I didn't want anyone else to put money into something that I didn't know that I wasn't too sure I was going to go hardcore after it. So I'll just go spend my own money.
Any opportunities that you are looking for investors for?
Absolutely. Right now.
How do they find those? How do they get a hold of you for that?
Right now, the best way, I've got a pitch deck. Honestly, the best way is just to find me with an email, eric@md-atl.com.
Okay.
So that's marketdistrictdevelopment.com is that email address, but we shortened it and we made it MD. So like market district is what it is. Sounds like medical doctor, but it's MD-, so MD, then the hyphen, ATL.com. And then I can send a pitch deck on things. We have money. This fund is raising money for Clarksville, and then I'm going to be going through some kind of a small private equity raise for the Duluth project, because the Duluth project is going to be like this Adair Park project. It's it's about the same amount of mass as this, but it's very expensive on the front side because there's a lot of parking deck.
Oh,
and parking deck is expensive up front.
Yep.
Where the surface parking, it kind of comes along with it.
Yeah. So parking decks are not cheap.
Not at all.
No.
Not at all. No.
I know a buddy who builds those for a living.
$35,000 a spot is basically what we're looking at right now.
Wow.
So yeah.
And
you put 300 spots in, you spend a lot of money.
You don't charge rent on those. That's just so people can get there.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. So last couple of things. Let's see. You are very different. So some of my normal questions aren't going to work. Okay. If you had a billboard right here and people driving by it, and you could put up any message, it doesn't have to be health and fitness, doesn't have to be investing, whatever. What message would you want people to see and read and be like, okay, that is good?
Yeah, that's an interesting one. So in specifically right here, it kind of changes. Like it changes.
It can be anywhere you want. But basically, what is your motto, mantra, or for your life, or
Yeah, I think so. So one thing I've really enjoyed taking over this co-working space because I look at WeWork. Have you watched the We Crashed?
Mm-mm.
So WeWork, I watched WeWork, their rise and fall while it was happening. I was watching it. I was reading about this guy, Adam Newman, reading about him in the Wall Street Journal. And because I read the journal every morning. So I really enjoy just kind of watching stuff out there in the world.
They found you. Here they are.
Yeah.
They're coming for you.
Coming to get me.
Nope, they went by. You're good. You don't have to run. Yeah.
And one thing so WeWork as an investment is a horrible failure. As an actual business, it's a huge success.
Okay.
They have they just didn't do a good job of making sure that the people who are investing could make money, but attracting people in, huge. So I love this idea of incubate, just what you're doing, incubating entrepreneurial, effort, incubating life forces, incubating positive, activity. So, I think the message that I would have would be this entering Woodstock. You're entering a town that will launch you into your most successful life.
Ooh, I like that.
Because I really feel like that's one of the things that Woodstock has.
Mm-hmm.
It has so many young people coming in that are marrying up with more mature mentors, like you're saying, in business, in deals, in relationship. I really feel like there's a hotbed of activity happening in this town right now, and I'm seeing it all around me. I love it. I absolutely love it.
That might become the title of this episode. I love that.
Yeah.
That's a good message.
It is. It's cool. So here, Collaborate, one of the things I'm doing here is anyone who's a member at Collaborate Woodstock has either a hot desk or an office. They're in a networking group that I'm part of. I'm not running it. We got someone else who's already running it. Clear Path Mortgage, they're guys who are renting an office, or renting two offices actually. But then once a month, I'm doing basically it's a founders meeting where once a month I'm going to do a 2-hour get together where it's basically just put your heads together and figure out what are the boundaries, what are the borders that you need to cross, what are the walls you need to break through, and how do you do that? How can we help you do that? And we just want to do that in a group setting. So everyone is kind of throwing their stuff and figuring out ways to break through all these here I am, but I need to get to this. I need to figure out to break through. Yeah, it's
Is
basically
it for only people who are in the group, or can anybody in that time join into?
It's only people who are here in either private office or membership.
Okay, so I'm just going
to. But that way, I'm making it so that because I really want to, because I want to fill this thing up and make it huge.
So I will say that anytime you can get expertise advice or a group think, because you sometimes, not you, but people cannot see the forest because of the trees. And you're like, I don't see my own problem. But I'm in this two-brain mentoring group, and it's hilariously funny. We'll throw out problems, and somebody's like, well, you just do ABC. And they're like, wow, that is so easy. Why didn't I see that? Because it's your problem.
Exactly.
You definitely can't see your own problem. So if
very true.
you have a local business here in Woodstock and you're at home and you're like, hey, how do I get engage with more people? Rent some space down here in Woodstock. Consider it an investment in your future, not just a space.
One of the guys, he was going to come over here and just do hot desk co-working, so he had a place to come hang out and work. And we spent an hour together. He called me back. He's like, man, I love your vision. I want to rent a desk because I want to put my name. I want to, because they can all put their logos on the glass, outside of the space, and I want to have my logo. So show me a spot where people are going to walk by. People are going to see me. I'm like, well, there's this conference room here, and then they have access to this door to Starbucks. This is going to be a heavy traffic area. Like, I want this office here.
That is awesome.
I want to be in the middle of it, and I want to say hi to everyone, and I want to just connect with people. Okay. He's an IT guy who he helps people build apps and build software solutions, and he works with like tiny to massive business.
Wow.
I'm like, dude, this is going to be perfect
for you.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah. So that's awesome. Hey, so something that I didn't even cover, but we'll cut it off there, is Eric was the originator of the idea of CrossFit Garage.
Oh, yeah.
Didn't even go down that road, but it was...
I know, here's a podcast that's got this name.
CrossFit Garage.
I'm the guy who helped start... I mean, we started together, but I know
it was your idea.
I pulled you, and I told Shane and Wes together.
Yeah, you said you didn't say this, but this is what I heard. It is you go to a website, you put in your individual statistics, and they give you a workout that you will do on your own. That is not what you said, but that is what I heard.
That's what you heard, yeah.
And then 15 years later, I'm still here doing this business. But
that's awesome.
Eric, it is
and
true.
I'm still CEO of the Garage Games right now. I don't know if you
still?
knew that.
Yeah. Is it still going?
Absolutely. As a matter of fact, I mean, the two big things that we do are the Masters Tour. And remember, I created that. For me. I was like 42, and I'm like,
sometimes that's how business works.
I want more opportunity to compete for me. So I made the Masters Tour, and that thing kills it. And our annual invitational is like people fight to get into that invite now. And we get 200 competitors is what we cap it at for that deal. We'd probably get 1,000 for that if we wanted to.
Wow.
And then now, though, the other one that really has taken off is the Juniors Tour as well. Okay. And we have a Junior Invitational at the end of the year as well. And people will travel across the country for their kids to compete.
Yeah.
And it's pretty cool. So those two, they have events going off all the time.
So in the
this past weekend, I saw and what happens is my phone blows up like on the side of like the business suite from Facebook.
Okay.
I'm getting like endless garage games. It's because there's so much stuff happening over there.
Right.
And I don't really do much besides just mentor the two people who run those two groups.
In the wake.
And that's it.
There is a sucking sound.
Yep.
Be part of it. Have a business and grow.
Yep.
So when I was at the Two Brain Summit with the boys, somebody said, oh, CrossFit Garage, is that related to the Garage Games? Because we just did the juniors. I'm like, it is different guys, but we're all friends and whatever. So so you're
awesome.
I want to say they weren't from Alaska, but it was so far away. They're like, wow, you guys know about that?
Well, there was a moment in time when I was traveling around a bit because of the Garage Games, and I'll tell you, it was always amazing to me when there was a window in time. Any CrossFit gym in the world. You walked in and say, I'm with the Garage Games. And they all would say, oh my gosh, we do yours. We do your Worldwide WOD, or we've been to your competitions. Like everyone in CrossFit knew who we were. It was pretty awesome.
I think my thing might have actually turned off or got too hot. I don't know.
Oh, it probably got too hot.
So we'll end it there. Maybe we'll have to chime in a new ending. I don't know.
Back, we can.
All right. Good stuff. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
And I don't actually know how to turn this off.
Yeah, sitting out in the sun could have been.
Did I just do that? I just made my thing it did the auto shutdown. I wonder where it did it. Well, I'll unplug it and that'll end the recording, I think.